You think it's because they don't want to pay Arizona or Phoenix?
No. Well, not the money. I just think it's that they've got the Super Bowl lined out, and yeah, that combined with the long layoff for the 1 seeds.
Your Caps with another big win last night, David.
My Caps. They got Backstrom coming back in like a month, don't they?
I don't know when, but yes.
Ovi scored another meaningless goal. He's got so many of them this year.
Well, it's like I was arguing with Buck. Buck's like, he's not going to break it. I'm like, Buck, the owner is going to pay him. He's like, even if the team does, I said, it doesn't matter. I go, they're going downhill. I go, how long can he sit on the half wall and score 20? He goes, oh, until he's 50.
There you go.
Like, okay, then.
So, they'll make sure he breaks the record. Then 6 more, he gets the 900. And then,
all today.
They'll say, now you're getting expensive. He's got 29 goals and he's on pace for just under 60 goals.
Which gets him to like
almost
840.
Yeah, almost 840, which is 55 behind the record. 894 is the record. I mean, he'll literally be like, well, I don't know if I can get it next year, but I can get close.
Watch the second half of Ohio State Purdue. That was pretty fun.
We told everybody to take Purdue in the 1.5.
Yeah, Bellarmine lost by a point.
They did. They were down like 14.
They were down 14 at half. They came back. I don't know how it ended because they lost by 1.
15 seconds.
If they had a lead and blew it, if the last shot, but I wasn't that interested.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Friday, the first one of 2023, as we ask the question, how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your first week of 2023 has gone well, and thanks for spending part of it with us. How are you on this Friday, Mark?
I'm doing very well, David. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm back in Jacksonville. Got back early last evening. Had to fix a flat tire before making the trip back.
Did you do it yourself?
No.
Damn.
No, Mark, I am very much into contributing to local, regional, national economies. When I purchase the tires, I purchase the super duper, anything happens to these tires, I bring it in and you fix it. Right. And I tip you, but you fix it. That's how the deal works.
You tip the mechanic?
Yeah, I did. Well, also because when I pulled in, first off, I went to the first place. And they're like, I don't know if we can get to you much before the end of the day. And so I didn't feel like sitting around for 6 hours and then making a 5-hour drive. So I went to the next place down the road of theirs, and he goes, we're about 3-4 hours. And I'm like, well, it's better than 6. And so 10 minutes into the 3-4 hours, the guy knocks on my window because I'm sitting in the parking lot in the car, doing business, Mark. I'm a very busy guy.
Well, you have a lot of business.
Yeah, I was talking on the phone with someone, and they tapped on the door, and he said, hey, I can fix it now. I said, what happened to 3-4 hours? He goes, just get you out of here. Okay. So I, threw a 20 at him and said, here, have lunch on me.
Have lunch on
me. So sure. So thanks for fitting me in. Appreciate it.
Of course, the guy that fixed the tire didn't get any of the 20. The guy at the front counter had a hell of a lunch.
Well, I said, I did say to him,
he's the gatekeeper, and that's the guy you got to get through. And I am not knocking your tip at all. All I am saying is that the poor schlep who had to fix the tire might not have come out with any cash on this.
Well, that is true. They were two different people, but I did throw the 20 at the gatekeeper and say, hey, I don't know, maybe, between the two of you, I could buy lunch or a pizza or something.
Good for you. I like it.
So, Mark, you know me, throwing money around like I have it.
It's always those of us that don't that do, David. And that's why we don't.
That's part of the reason. There's probably a bigger reason, but it's only a 4-hour show. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I am shocked, how surprised are you that the NFL decided not to make up the Cincinnati Buffalo game?
About an 8.
Yeah, I might even be higher.
I mean, there was nothing that led me to believe that game wasn't going to get played the way that they decided that they didn't give an answer earlier in the week. And I thought you were onto something, that they just wanted 18 teams to go home and figure out what was going to happen after that.
Well, here's the part that I guess has intrigued me, that I actually believe the NFL changed their way of thinking. We talked about it on Tuesday and on Wednesday where, I was in Cincinnati working the game, and I was getting emails from ESPN, who clearly was in touch with the NFL, and they were saying to their 6-7 dozen people that they had in town, hey, don't leave town yet. Please stay. Things are still fluid. And 8 o'clock became 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. became noon. And then when they had sent an email that said, listen, if you don't hear anything by noon, you're good to go. And then right around noon, they said, could you hold in place till 5 o'clock? Well, besides the fact that was a major inconvenience, but that led me to believe, well, the NFL's got to be holding out hope to play this game tomorrow, which would have been Wednesday. I mean, why in the world are we being asked to stay in place? What do you need a crew for if there's not going to be a game played? So I'm in all week, Mark. I've got it in my head. Well, hell, the NFL is serious about playing this game. They had to be contemplating it for 12 hours, playing it on Wednesday. So then for them, Mark, to 48 hours later be like, nah, we're not going to play it. Knowing what we know, the lengths they went to play every game during the pandemic and what have you. It's like, and, the game does have significant, bearing on the AFC standings. And you're like, huh. I mean, I think the NFL did a 180 here in 48 hours.
And I'm curious as to why. I had thought all along the TV partners would pressure them to want the playoffs to be played the normal way. You've always maintained that, they may want it played the normal way, but the NFL dictates to the network partners how this is done. So I am curious as to what caused the abrupt 180.
The other thing in the timing, not just the announcement, but the timing of it, I thought there was a better chance that the game didn't get played if DeMar Hamlin's situation was not improving. That I thought that the NFL may go, this might be a little too traumatic for the Bills with Hamlin in a nearby hospital not doing well. But it was late morning, right around noon yesterday, that the best news by far, better news than I think we were expecting yesterday we would hear. That not only is he awake, he wrote down questions for the doctors. The doctors, for the first time, the hospital came out and made statements and described his condition as, quote, substantial improvement. I thought then that gave everybody, the Bengals, the Bills, and the league, the deep breath and the emotional clearance to go forward with the game. And instead, the AP was reporting within 3-4 hours that, this game ain't going to be played. I was surprised. Shocked.
I was as well.
I was a step short of shocked, Mark.
So you were at the 9. If I'm an 8, you were a 9.
Oh, yeah. I might have been 9.5. I mean, in fact, I had just done an interview an hour earlier, all right, with a colleague in which on his show, I basically said, name the bet. They're going to play the game. He sent me
it's your fault.
Yeah, so he sent me a friendly text last night going, so how much you want to send me? Whatever you think is fair.
Wish you had that 20 back.
I did text him and say, well, currently I have $12 in my wallet. So,
boy, might not have tipped as well as you did on that tire if you'd have known you were going to lose the bet.
Well, I will say when I gave the 20 for the tire, I looked in my wallet and said, well, I guess we're charging everything on the way home.
32, huh?
That was what I had.
You were thick with cash for David Moulton.
Darn right. I was rolling 30. I looked at my wallet. I went, I have $32. I am loaded.
Quick check, Felipe. Do you have any cash on you right now? If
Yes.
cash were needed, do you have cash on you?
Yes, I do have cash.
More than 20?
Yes.
Look at Felipe.
Wow. He's rolling.
He's listened to one thing we've told him.
I know. Well, it's a Friday, the date night, maybe, plans. I don't know.
Good for you, Felipe. I'm proud of you.
How much you have on you right now?
I don't know. Let's see. 70.
You're your father, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. You don't leave the house with $4. You have a money clip. So you always have, when you have cash.
If it runs low, you go to the ATM, you take out 200 and you start over again.
So I was very surprised. Very capitalized, very. So, maybe the players just let the NFL know we ain't making this game up. If Buffalo and Cincy are playing again, it'll be in late January.
But what's come out of this from the league and how they're going to handle the AFC title game is, well, something I never thought we'd see.
Well, are we sure about this, or is this just stuff being thrown against the wall?
Well, the competition committee approved this. The owners have to approve it later today. The competition committee yesterday put out the different scenarios. The owners have a meeting this morning, 10 or 11, Zoom call meeting that they need approval of this to go forward.
Well, what is the scenario then? What are they going to do?
If it all depends on what happens this week. I mean, there's 47 different scenarios.
Okay, let's assume that the favorites win. Let's assume Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincy win.
Cincinnati has no shot at the one. That's what they've
Correct.
kind of determined.
Correct. Kansas City would finish a half a game ahead of Buffalo for the one. What are they doing?
If Buffalo and Kansas City both win and they meet for the AFC title game, they're going to play it at a neutral site.
But to begin the playoffs, they're going to seed Kansas City as the 1.
Correct.
So they're going to get the bye. So basically, to start the playoffs, they're going to go with the standings.
Yes. But they're not giving Kansas City home field in the AFC Championship game if it is against Buffalo.
Do you like this scenario? I mean, I will say, please tell me that the players said they weren't going to play this game, because I would rather reconfigure the playoffs, get the rightful seedings. I think it's a big deal I think it's a very big deal if Buffalo could host the game. Put it that way. I don't think it's as big a deal if Kansas City or Cincinnati could host the game. I think it's a very big deal if Buffalo were hosting the game.
I'm with you. And I just start thinking neutral site places. They'd go to Indianapolis, and Kansas City and Buffalo would play in a dome. There's I don't know where the site is, but it just in my head doesn't make a lot of sense. Miller and Moulton, we'll get to all of that. A lot of football to talk about today on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The other side. Oh, that's me. Stop. The other one of this is that's fantastic. If the Ravens beat the Bengals on Sunday, the Bengals are the division winner, but they're going to have a coin flip to determine who hosts the game if they play the Ravens. So the Ravens could host a wild card game if they win and win the coin flip. You were up early this morning.
I went to bed early though.
No, I was starting to wake up, and if that machine moves off my nose, it's so loud in my head that I've got to kind of.
Gotcha.
And all of a sudden, while I was up at 3:18, the phone buzzed. I'm like, why is my phone buzzing? I'm like, look at David. Look at him go.
Johnny Finger Lakes, the options are plentiful. $80, Wancho. Man. You and Mark. Always prepared to buy a steak. I will say my grandfather always had $200 on him. Always.
Attaboy, Adam. You traveling today? Are you Adam, is Pensacola home for you?
Remember, he's not going to the game.
Where's home, Adam? I know you lived in Jacksonville, but I'm just curious where home is.
I'll tell you what, watch some local news coverage. People are freaking out. JP's right, man. This is hog wild. Lead story on the newscast.
That's awesome, man.
Hell with the Speaker of the House.
Whatever.
They'll get around to it. We got a game 8:15 on Saturday, baby. Oh, you're bringing the Jags flag into enemy territory, are you? Here you go. There you go.
Pensacola was this close to being my home.
Oh, that's right.
But the Atlanta Knights moved to Quebec, and they fired the entire Nashville Knights staff and brought the Atlanta staff to Pensacola.
Pensacola looks like a really cool city. I'd love to go.
Yeah, enjoy.
Oh, that did not sound convincing.
The beaches on that part of Florida are beautiful.
Okay.
Pensacola Beach is beautiful. I've never been to Destin, and I would like to go to the heart of the Redneck Riviera one day.
You got the Pensacola Bay. Mobile is right there, and then
have you ever been?
I know I've been to Pensacola and Mobile hundreds of times.
I love Mobile, Alabama.
Huh?
One of us.
Yeah.
My brother went to Spring Hill.
I like Mobile. I don't love Mobile.
Okay, you're okay. Yeah, I like Mobile. It's cute.
I love Charleston, South Carolina. I like Mobile, Alabama.
John, we don't have enough time to get into the whole. Every time I have cash, my son-in-law needs to borrow it. That's
son-in-law.
Yeah, that seems like a segment right there, John.
Yeah, we're coming back now.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. An announcement needs to be made early in the show. Pat Kirwan's an hour earlier than normal. Spread the word. Pat's usually an 8 o'clock guy. He's got stuff going on.
Sounds like a tea time.
I don't know if that's the case or not. I know he had one yesterday. All right. But I know Pat's a 7 o'clock guy this Friday. So Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour for our, back end of the weekly visit with Pat Kirwan. We're going to talk a little Georgia TCU, by the way, on the show. We're not going to save all of it until Monday. Yep, that's right. College football, biggest game of the year. Yep. It sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Like they own about 24 hours and then it just goes away. And then all of a sudden it reappears again and it goes away.
And come on, after the semifinals that happened on New Year's Eve,
right.
I think there would be a lot more hype if the events of Monday night did not happen. That did stop the sports world in its tracks, Dave.
I agree completely. But that's why we just wanted to not wait until Monday. That's all. Landry Burdine, radio sideline reporter for TCU, who joined us a day before the TCU-Michigan game last week and said, guys, got to admit, not just blowing smoke, this is a very even matchup. He said, I fully expect it to be within the spread, either way.
You know, this
right.
is the largest spread of a BCS championship game that we've ever had. 12.5. There's been an 11 and an 11.5. Neither team covered. Neither team won.
Hold on a second. By neither team, you mean the favorite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Favorite lost both games outright.
So you're trying to say, you know, hey, if past, you know,
that's all I'm saying,
plays itself out, we're going to have TCU as the national champions. I'll tell you what, that would throw the college football world on its collective ear. Because if Georgia wins and covers, the college football world will go, you know, that TCU story, that was cute. That was nice. You know, good for them for beating Michigan. Way to go. You know, kind of the same way 5 years ago they sounded about UCF. You know, that's nice season, guys. Okay, you know, wait for you to throw the donut up there. I mean, don't be claiming any titles or anything, but, you know, just good for you. You know, maybe one day we'll put a team like yours in the playoff. I mean, you're not going to win it, but we'll put it in. You know, just keep on plugging away.
TCU picked 7th in their conference. 7.5-point dog against Michigan.
I will say Bud Elliott, remember all year, he kept saying he had TCU at 28-1 to win the Big 12, and he doesn't even get to cash it unless it's a regular season bet.
No.
I mean, think about that.
No.
He's smart enough to see that TCU was the sleeper in the league, bets him at 28-1 to win the conference, and who knows, might be the only game they lose all year is the conference title game.
Somehow I think Bud hedged that. If I know Bud, he plays numbers. I don't think he sat on that ticket. I think he made sure that he collected some money.
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably right. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Also, Trent Dilfer is going to join us on the show. If you missed it, early in bowl season, he became the new football coach at UAB. So he's been on the job about 3 weeks. Trent Dilfer to join us coming up in about 2.5 hours. So that's our Football Friday for you. What do you say? It's not bad. That'll work. Back to this whole, you okay with the neutral site situations? If the only way, by the way, Buffalo can play Kansas City and it's not a neutral site is if Kansas City loses Saturday and Buffalo wins. If Buffalo gets ahead of Kansas City in the standings, then the whole neutral site thing goes away.
Correct.
Then they'll let Buffalo be the one and we just do it traditionally.
Am I okay with the neutral site? I would have rather they played the game next week. I would have rather, as opposed to this scenario, I would have gone with the Bills-Bengals play next Saturday, Sunday, whatever, and the NFC first round, wild card round goes on. I liked this. I liked that idea better than this idea.
The Bengals have a representative on the committee there, the competition committee.
Right.
And I will say the Bengals' attitudes towards this have been commendable. I mean, Zach Taylor said publicly on Wednesday, listen, you guys are asking questions about the future. Whatever the Bills want, we'll do. So there you go. I'm going to worry about the Ravens, but whatever the future holds, it holds. But we'll basically follow the Bills' lead. Whatever they are thinking and feeling and want to do, we're good with. So would be fascinating. What if it's by chance Buffalo and Kansas City, the neutral site that's been mentioned because geographically it fits perfectly would be Indianapolis? Can you believe, by the way, this would be the second neutral site game the Bills have played this year?
Right. think Buffalo would vote for Detroit. I mean, I think it should be at Ford Field. I think any neutral site game should be at Ford Field, just given the fact that they're never going to host an AFC or NFC championship game in the history of that franchise.
Come on, Mark. That's cold. There's no need to go there.
It's not cold. It's factual. I'm 53. I'm born and raised in Michigan. These are just things we know and understand. I didn't say it with any venom or, I wasn't upset about it. I'm just trying to present a scenario where the folks of Michigan could see a championship game and feel proud. Feel proud to host it.
You didn't say it with venom, but you said it with some angst. You did. A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
All right.
A little bit.
Drinks are on the house.
Listen, whenever we go movie, okay, dialogue or music lyrics, all right, then we get the text in the Twitch chat room to light up. We talk sports,
they
whatever.
listen.
Yeah,
they listen.
whatever.
Offer the occasional opinion.
Yeah, but you guys want to go movie dialogue and music lyrics? Oh, we're all in.
So I would have preferred they played the game next week. I do think if it's a neutral site game, they need to figure out a way to get the sucker outside. I really do.
Although Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in a dome, man, it could turn into TCU Michigan. That could be 51-45. Whew. Man.
You okay with the neutral site game?
Not really, no. Mm-mm. No, I would have played the game. Okay. I would have played the game. But that's me.
Would you have done the proposal we were talking about, basically playing it next week with the NFC wild card, or just tried to push everything back 2 weeks as far as the playoffs go, just have that game stand alone?
I might have actually done the unfair standings thing. I might have just said, I would have tried. I really would have pushed to play the game. If the Bills said we're not interested, okay, then I wouldn't have made them. But if the Bills said we'll do whatever you decide, I would have played the game. So
that's the decision Miller and Moulton would have made. That's not the decision that was made. They are not playing the game, and it throws the playoffs into a bit of an upheaval as how they're going to figure this out in the AFC. We'll figure everything out that happened for you last night with the starting five. That comes up next. Pat Kirwan in 30 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I remember that was like a story. Jaren Jackson not playing, and yet he was a lottery pick.
Thank you.
Strange. Adam. What is it? Yeah, perdido. Perdido key, which means lost key. That's got to be a cool little town right there, like right on the border. I've always wanted to see that.
Well, hopefully you have plenty of time to do so.
I'd love to. That'd be a cool little trip, just driving along the Gulf Coast. Visit H-Town. Never been there.
What town?
H-Town. Clutch City. Houston. It's H-Town. Come on.
You know, they're showing South Carolina women's highlights on here. It's one thing when they beat, I think it was they played college at Charleston a few weeks back and, beat them 90-20.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing Auburn. And with 5 minutes left, it's 81-36.
Right.
I didn't see what the final, well, they're going to get to 100. No, 94-42. That's a conference game.
Yes, Adam, I've heard about that place. They've got to have some really good seafood, I bet.
I've never really thought of the Floribama bar as somewhere you'd eat.
I mean,
it's a drunk fest.
Probably got some conch fritters. I don't know.
You want conch fritters? Go to the Bahamas.
What are the Keys? Keys are the Bahamas. Oh, Bahamas. I'd love to.
In fact, I've never seen a conch fritter. I very, very rarely see a conch fritter on a menu in the Keys.
Huh?
I'm serious. Conch burgers, you don't see those in the Keys. You got to go to the Bahamas that's where they serve it nonstop.
Bro, they got conch fritters everywhere in the Keys. What are you talking about?
And conch fritters aren't as good as a conch burger.
Conch burger is pretty good. Nothing beats a blackened dolphin sandwich, though. Mahi mahi. David, do you like fish?
Yeah.
He's more of a Grateful Dead guy.
Applaud yourself, Mark. There you go. Mm-hmm. David, what's your favorite fish?
Shrimp, probably.
Oh, I love shrimp. Even though it's not really a fish, but that's okay.
Well, seafood.
Yeah.
I mean, that. I assumed you were asking me a seafood question.
Okay, yeah. That's fair.
Not a fish question, whether or not I want, marlin or trout.
Didn't know you could eat marlin.
Trout on the Marlins? I'd love that. I really love crab cakes, and it's only because the first time I ever had them was in Baltimore, Maryland. It was all downhill from there. One time I went to a steakhouse and all I had was crab cakes.
That's your fault.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
That's your fault. You don't go to the steakhouse and order seafood. You go to the steakhouse and you order steak.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the top of the hour when Pat Kirwan joins us an hour earlier than normal here on Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. A lot going on in the sports world this week. Let's get to it.
The starting five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Damar Hamlin's recovery thankfully continues. The medical folks in Cincinnati said, quote, substantial improvement in Damar Hamlin from Wednesday night to Thursday. He's still critical, but the doctors say that he has full neurological function. Boy, is that heartwarming. The league, a few hours later, decided they're not going to make up the Bills-Bengals game. Owners will vote today. You need 3/4 of them to approve whatever the playoff formula is going to be in the AFC moving forward. There's talk of neutral site games for potentially AFC championships. There's talk of coin tosses. One team could be the division champion, the other team could be the wild card, and the wild card team could host the game. There's a whole lot that's on the table. We'll let it play out later this morning and early afternoon. The regular season ends Sunday. That we now know for sure. The NFL gave 3 reasons as to why they decided not to play the game. One of them is the assurance that we would all know what the playoff matchups were as of Sunday night, Monday morning. All righty then. You know, Lamar's still not practicing, Mark.
Nope.
If you practice 3 times a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he's missed 14 consecutive practices. That's 4 2/3 weeks practices. And nobody expects him to practice today, and nobody expects him to play against Cincinnati on Sunday. So the question then became, well, is he going to play in the playoffs? And John Harbaugh basically said, I'll let others decide that or talk about that. And so Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, said, yeah, I'd bet on seeing him in the playoffs. But apparently he's still walking with a limp. That's not good.
That seems to be a problem, David.
Right. It does, especially when you're more of a runner than a thrower, right?
Right.
Listen, I don't want to say Lamar's injury has affected Baltimore or anything. They're 2-2 in the 4 games he's missed. The offense is averaging 12 points a game. They've scored 3 total touchdowns. I mean, they may miss him. That's all I'm saying. They may miss him.
Well, not to mention Huntley's banged up as well. Not that I mean, they could be
yesterday.
Right.
The guy replacing him didn't practice because he had a throwing shoulder and throwing wrist injuries. So who knows? Baltimore may just mail it in Cincinnati, to be honest with you, because they may also then just say, we'll see you again next week. Because we'll be the 6 and you'll be the 3. So there. Although who knows how it's going to shake out. Hey, did you hear Michigan's being investigated by the NCAA?
I did.
And the Michigan that you and I knew, this would be a really big deal. Don't know if times have changed. But, you know, one of the things that Michigan is always very proud of is that, we don't cheat. We do things the right way. Okay? You know, it was their way of saying we're not Ohio State. I mean, that's basically what Michigan was always saying in code. Okay? Well, apparently, Michigan may have violated a couple of NCAA rules during the COVID dead recruiting period. They may have contacted some potential recruits. Also, they may have a defensive analyst on the field coaching, and you're not supposed to do that. There's only like 14 of you that are allowed to coach. The other 30 of you just have to sit in the stands with your golf shirts. But believe it or not, you know who may get the most severe sanctions? Jim Harbaugh, because apparently he's been completely uncooperative with the NCAA, and this surprises no one. And so for not cooperating, they're talking about suspending him for multiple games next year. We'll see. Wake Forest quarterback Sam Hartman's officially transferring to Notre Dame. Running back Trey Sanders is the third Alabama player to transfer to TCU.
Well, we've always thought that was the pipeline. Alabama gets him and TCU takes him, David.
Right. College basketball, Texas fired head coach Chris Beard after his arrest last month for domestic violence. Beard claims his innocence. The alleged victim has declared his innocence. Texas fired him anyway. They owe him 5.5 years and about $30 million, but you're not going to believe this. They're saying, we don't have to pay you. We're firing you with cause.
And Beard's lawyer is saying, no, you didn't.
Not. Right. So,
in the words of Andrew Brandt, there will be lawyers.
Joe Dumars, by the way, got the court at McNeese State, where he starred and is still their all-time leading scorer. He got the court named after him last night. Good move by McNeese State. Could ask why it took so long.
I was going to say, why did it take so long?
Not going to do that. Not going to go there. Okay.
I am. Why did it take so long?
Just because it's 15 years after he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. You may have been a little slow on the whistle. That's all we're saying. College hoops last night, another good night. First off, ranked teams, Arizona, Gonzaga, UCLA, they all won by 3 points or less in conference play, though. 15th ranked Indiana got upset at Iowa 91-89. Top-ranked Purdue survives at Ohio State 71-69.
Fun game. Fun second half, because it wasn't a high-scoring game. It's college basketball in the Big Ten, a lot of defense, but a good second half.
And Miller and Moulton gave you a winner. We noticed Purdue was a 1.5-point underdog. We said you get the number one team in the country in points, you take it. FGCU lost to Austin Peay. UAB lost to FAU. FAU is 13-1 on the season. 88-86 Owls. FIU a winner. North Florida a winner. Stetson beat JU. Stetson's 3-0 in A-Sun play. Women's hoops, Miami upset nationally ranked North Carolina 62-58. FIU, Florida State, FGCU, North Florida winners on the women's side. FAU, Stetson, Florida, and Jacksonville losers. Jacksonville had to lose because they played FGCU and they won. See, that's how that works. NBA, only 4 games last night. Our Magic Mark lost at home to Ja Morant in Memphis, 123-115. Ja with 32, Jaren Jackson with 31. That seems to be a problem. You figured Dallas was in trouble, Mark, because Boston lost by 35 the night before in Oklahoma City.
And gave up, 150 points or whatever the hell it was?
Correct.
I mean, they gave up a boatload, and they're a great defensive team. So,
right. So they came back last night, outscored Dallas in every quarter, and beat them 124-95. Utah over Houston by 17. Denver over the Clippers by 31. They led by 43 going to the fourth. So for as good as the night before was, with 7 games decided by 3 points or less, okay, we only had 1 game decided by less than 15 points last night in the association. Hockey, Mark, have you ever seen this before? Carolina outshot Nashville 67-25 and lost.
Happens.
Nashville won 5-3. That's right. Soros, the goalie, with 64 saves.
I don't know if I've seen that many, but I've seen, doing that much hockey, I've seen some pretty lopsided games when goaltenders get hot.
I don't know if I've ever seen it that lopsided in regulation. I mean, 64 saves in regulation. I know they throw a little 5-minute overtime in, but you know what I mean? That's usually something you see in like a double, triple
No, it's a
overtime
ton of
playoff
shots.
game.
You're right.
5-3 Nashville over Carolina. Ovechkin scored again. I mean, it's a meaningless goal. They were up 5-2 late, and he jammed in a power play goal, because he's got 29 though in the first half of the season. He's on pace for 58 goals. He's nearly 58 years old, for goodness sakes. All right, that's an exaggeration, but he's like, what, 37? Believable. 809 for Ovechkin. He's 85 behind Gretzky. At this pace, he'll reach it in March. My goodness. Rangers stay hot. They beat Montreal. Blues over Seth's Devils 5-3. Canada won the World Juniors. 20th time they've done that. And since Canadian teams can't win the Stanley Cup, they care about stuff like this. Okay, World Juniors, World Championships. Oh, no, that north of the border, this stuff's a big deal.
Well, the World Juniors much bigger than the World Championships. It was a raucous crowd for the game against U.S. and again last night. It was spectacular to watch how into it they are.
Canada beat the Czech Republic 3-2. U.S., by the way, did capture the bronze in a wild one against Sweden, 8-7 in overtime.
I think it's Luke Hughes, the goal, you'll see it, the highlights, go look for it. Tries to make a spinorama. The defenseman knocks him down and basically from his knees turns and spins and fires the shot in. It's a ridiculous goal.
I will say, if you're going to play a third place / consolation game, might as well just not play much. You know what, boys? Let's just go out and just, let's scrimmage this sucker for 2 hours. Let's go.
No hit, no defense. Let's get
exactly.
After it,
let's just go up and down the ice. Mark, the golf season got underway yesterday.
Sure did.
Tournament of Champions in Kapalua. A whole bunch of champions not there because, they don't play on the PGA Tour anymore, including the defending champion of the Tournament of Champions, Cam Smith, who won a bunch of times last year. Hell, he won the Players and the British. Can't get invited to this, though. That rat, blankety blank. All right, three-way tie at the lead, 9 under. John Rahm, Colin Morikawa, and J.J. Spawn. Scheffler's 2 back. Our new favorite golfer, Scott Stallings, not to be confused with the 60-year-old real estate guy in Tennessee who got the Masters invite. No, the Scott Stallings, who's the 54th ranked player on the PGA Tour, he's 3 back. And at 9 minutes before the hour, that gentleman was.
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Armando Salguera from Outkick reported yesterday that if the Dolphins lose and or miss the playoffs, that they're cleaning house. We had Matt Canada on the show yesterday, 23 hours ago, and he said, Mike McDaniel's not going anywhere. He goes, unless Stephen Ross completely changes his mind, but I have very good sourcing that says Mike McDaniel's not going anywhere. And 8 hours later, Armando Salguero on Outkick's going, McDaniel, Greer, the coaching staff, you name it, they don't make the playoffs, and especially if they lose, we're just blowing the sucker up.
No pressure or anything on that last game for the Miami Dolphins with their third-string quarterback playing.
Well, listen, let's be brutally honest. Let's just for a second say Armando Salguero's right, that Stephen Ross has changed his tune. And he's like, if they don't beat the Jets and we finish the year losing 6 in a row, I'm making changes. Well, first off, don't you line up who you're going to replace everybody with? Which goes back to the whole Sean Payton, Tom Brady, the whole thing. So to me, if you're lining it up, you don't line it up in case we lose. You're doing it. If you're calling to line it up, you're doing it. Don't you?
Yes. But the one thing that Matt Canada brought up yesterday on the show is that if you're trying to get Sean Payton, you need draft picks. It's something that the Dolphins don't. I mean, they're going to have to figure that end out.
But Denver doesn't have them either. And the Dolphins have more draft picks than the Broncos do. So, and the thought is that Sean Payton is very, on a very, very short list in Denver. So they'd have to work out draft pick compensation also. I mean, you can give a future first. It doesn't have to be a 2023 first round.
Correct.
Pick.
But typically when you're giving up futures, you have to give up more.
So that's my thought. My thought is like, listen, if you're going to blow it up, blow it up. Don't make it dependent on beating the Jets and or making the playoffs. I mean, I'll say this. You have a chance to get Sean Payton and Tom Brady. You blow the damn thing up.
Even 46-year-old Tom Brady?
Yeah. Yeah. With those weapons? Yeah.
Pat Kirwan is next. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Good morning, fellas.
Hi, Pat.
How are you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Good. I was enjoying David's rant there, his Miami Dolphin rant. Oh, yeah, he's such a GM.
Yes, he is.
All I'm saying is you can't prevent yourself from going all in with the plan that you wanted to go all in with a year ago based on the outcome of the Dolphins-Jets game week 18. That's asinine.
Well, the owner didn't say that. Armando said that. What does he know? If he's going to fire the coach, he's going to fire the coach. He's not going to be boxed into like a win over the Jets means I'm not doing it. He's going to do what he wants. The game has nothing to do with it. And if he's already made arrangements, which he might have already, most of them make arrangements way before they fire guys, if they know what they're doing, then it'll be a smooth transition. It's just the compensation. Mark's point is good. I got some thoughts on the compensation. But I'm with Mark. Why would I take the bait on a 45-year-old quarterback? So I can fill a stadium for one season? There's better jobs. And you think anyone trusts that owner? No.
Well, that's why I don't think Sean Payton goes to Denver. It's a brand new owner, and I don't know if he wants that's unless he's a Russ guy.
Right now, no one's a Russ guy. Everyone got off that bus. The truth about Russ is coming out.
But I stepped on with 1 foot for a short time. I was never on that bus, and I wish I'd have never stepped on it.
Why? He gave you 10 terrific years.
I was never on the bus, though. I was never a Russ guy, and then all of a sudden I changed my mind, and I wish I'd have stuck with my guns. That's all.
You don't think New Orleans is going to let Peyton go for less than one of those receivers in Tua, do you?
Well, half of that. I mean, so you're saying if the
they
Saints
don't have the draft picks, so you have to give players that they want.
Right.
So be New Orleans for a second. What do you want?
So if they ask for Tua and Waddle,
you're New Orleans. What do you want? You're only trading Peyton once. What do you want? We don't like your draft picks. What do you want? I've been in these. Silence, Mark. Silence.
Well, I mean, listen,
they don't and Waddle.
Well, if I were first off to bring in Sean Payton, I'd do it.
Tua and Waddle. You can have Sean Payton.
Great. Done.
That's what it's going to take, because they know they got him for one shot at this. And I remember what we had to give up to get Parcells. And what happens is once they see how much you want them, they ask for more and more. And if I'm New Orleans, which sometimes we only think in the Miami version of it because we're in Florida, New Orleans, they need to change their tune. And
and the other thing that's going to work in New Orleans' favor is there's probably going to be a bit of a war for Sean Payton.
We're coming back now.
Oh my God, they're going to.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And Pat Kirwan joins us an hour earlier than usual on this Football Friday, the first one of 2023. Pat from NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, joining us once again courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between, some of them battered and bruised, but Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing fine, fellas. Good to hear you, see you. Everything is going well. And we got great news on DeMar. We have a week 18 schedule with so much. These are volatile games. You have no idea with all this 12 backup quarterbacks starting. So you have no idea how last week, nine of the 10 lost. The only backup to win was the kid in San Francisco, who's not really a backup. So we got 12 of them going now. So you can't predict that. You can't tell how many teams with veterans that are in the last year of their contract don't want to play at all. They don't want to get hurt in this game and then screw up their free agency. So you got a lot of crazy stuff going on in an attempt to pick these winners. So, and then we have this whole nonsense about how we're going to figure out the playoffs.
Pat, what happened in the last 24 hours? Because it certainly seemed, and maybe I'm off base, David and I thought for sure they were going to figure out a way to play Bills Bengals. What, in your estimation, happened that canceled this game and changed everything yesterday?
Well, it shouldn't change anything. You're allowed to cancel games. I think one of the big things is at the other end of the season, they don't want to give up that bye week of the Super Bowl. And if you have to manipulate this schedule, you could land up losing the bye week of the Super Bowl, and they make a lot of money on the week before the Super Bowl. So I think that's a piece of it. And I don't think the players want to play. And I think everyone is not going to challenge them on that subject. Although I said this the other day to you guys, when we got news that Dennis was not going to die and that he was on a long road to recovery, our players wanted to play football. And it sounds like the Bills now desperately want to play football. So look, just go with the winning percentage. I can't believe that we're up. And in this competition committee, my favorite group of guys, at least thank God they're not in charge and we don't have to do what they say. The owners get to trump them, which is, I would, first off, I've talked to someone who was on it. No, two guys that were on it. You know what they said? It's got to be disbanded and rebuilt with brand new people, and no one should be on the committee more than 2 years. No one. Because now it's become a little nesting areas for those who have their own grand ideas of how this league should be run.
Are you okay with the options, some of which include a neutral site AFC championship game, which you and your network televise?
No. It's pretty simple. Go by winning percentage and start the playoffs.
But Pat, it does. I mean, unless you're talking about something that's not out there right now. What's out there is neutral site games, and it was passed by the committee you hate, and it's going to be voted on by the owners. Do you think the owners are going to not vote this through?
Well, it's not in the rule book, so they're going to change the rules. They're going to do something they shouldn't be doing, and I don't approve of that. Figure it out next year for the future. But they already had this discussion years ago and came up with a policy. Winning percentage, and now start the playoffs. Let's go. You know what no one likes? Simplicity. I said all along they were never playing the game. Number two, and guys wanted to tell me all this garbage about when they were going to play it and simultaneous. No, not going to play the game. You got a winning percentage rule on the books. Go with it. Let's start. Period. Adding an eighth team, neutral sites, it's all garbage. And it's not fair to someone who deserves the home field.
Do you think it's because the team whose player was so seriously hurt is the team that looks as if they're going to be jilted the most by that approach, is why the competition committee is proposing what they're proposing? That if it were the Bengals or the Chiefs that looked as if they were going to be on the wrong end of the half a game difference in the standings, that they would just have moved forward. But since it looks like, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals are all favored to win this week, which means the Bills would be the one that would, quote unquote, lose the most. All right.
Yeah. I don't like that they're going to lose the most, but the rule says you're supposed to lose the most. Your winning percentage didn't perform to the level of you getting it. So let's move on. And a lot of this is because everyone thinks it's going to be Buffalo and Kansas City in the championship game. Oh, and that's not fair. They go to Kansas City. That's where they're looking down the road. The competition committee. What a group. Just open the rule book, put your stinking glasses on, read the rule, and move on.
Will the owners then, in your estimation, go against what the competition committee said and do what you just talked about, go by the rules that are on the books?
Well, I think the old-time owners that have been in the league when they wrote the rules will. But I think some of these young yo-yos that think everything's about me, it's my country club, I do what I want, I get what I want, those guys, forget it. They're not trustworthy. So, no, who knows what they're going to do. 31 egomaniacs. Good luck.
He's Pat Kirwan, moving the chains, NFL radio.
But I will say
CBS.
this.
Yeah.
You'll give me a week of radio. I
Oh,
promise you that.
Sure will. It sure will. I don't even know how many games you and Jim are going to discuss today. Once you guys get done, I mean, the owners are going to vote before your show. I mean,
well, this is the value of our show. We talk football, and we eventually will think of the games as pretty important. So we'll get to the games. I'm very happy for DeMar and his family. I've done a lot of research on this over the week, and I've heard from a lot of cardiologists. I've heard from a lot of people that have experienced this, whether it was their son in Little League Baseball or a lacrosse kid or that hockey player. It's just amazing. And every one of them says, thank God for the NFL football field and the NFL. So we all like to criticize the NFL, but the way they prepared for this without anyone knowing saved a life.
No doubt.
And it's not an injury that happens in football. I couldn't believe how many cardiologists told me this is a lacrosse, baseball, hockey injury, mostly to adolescents. And they explained why a 24-year-old could have it, because until you're 30, you may not have totally formed your rib cage, and it may be more cartilage than bone.
If I could sidebar for a second, okay, and I am not in any way placing any blame, okay? Stuff happens on the football field, sometimes with tragic or near tragic outcomes, okay? But the NFL, they talk about player safety. T. Higgins did lower his helmet. Pat, do you think it's possible to, when a quarterback begins his slide, the play essentially is supposed to end there. That's where they mark the ball. Do you think the NFL going forward at some point would ever pass a rule that says, okay, that the minute, okay, a ball carrier lowers their helmet, the play is done? At that moment, the play stops.
I was trying to figure out when I was going to retire. That'll do it right there.
Okay.
Come on, Dave. You know what that sounds like? A guy that never coached or played football. And someone on that committee, he might be the guy who thinks that way. But I'm just telling you, now we're talking about he lowered his helmet. Please. Marshawn Lynch wouldn't be allowed to play pro football.
I understand that. Pat, I'm not recommending it. I just brought it up. That's all.
Well, do me a favor. Don't bring up garbage like that ever again with me.
Oh, good. I get to ask the next question, huh? Thanks for setting them up for me, David.
Well, you couldn't be set up any better. There's not a damn thing you could bring up that he won't think is great right now.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
If anybody wants to know what in between periods in a Blades game is like, you're listening to it right now.
And I thought people really missed out. The Twitch audience got a little inside during that last break when Pat was letting loose on a few things. It just continues. Oh, boy. Well, Pat, you mentioned it. The one thing about these games that's so significant to me is the number of backup quarterbacks playing. It makes this week impossible to pick games, even in games that matter.
Absolutely. It's a week. And, the other thing you have to remember, not you personally, is how many guys packed the car. That the second this game's over, they're out of here, which means they mentally packed the car weeks ago. So they can have literally packed their car. So when they get the exit physical and the goodbye from the head coach, I talked to a head coach yesterday. I said, are you going to meet with all the players? Now, he had a great answer. Well, we're going to meet with the guys we know are coming back. I said, that should take 10 minutes.
Mark, I don't think I'm allowed to ask another question yet. So,
yeah, you can. You're up. You sure you like me at 7? And just in case,
I love like 7.
The earlier, the crankier you are. I think it's great. We have a minute. What about Robert Saleh and his impassioned defense for Zach Wilson?
I think he exposed Zach Wilson. That was not a defense. That told the public and me, this guy doesn't even know if he loves football. How often at the Senior Bowl and the Combine do we hear Coach, we just want to find out if he loves football? Well, guess what he said to us? He basically said, go home and decide if you want to play football. That's what he said in my eyes. If a scout came back to our building and told me that's what he said, or that's what he determined when he met with them, I would say, we're not drafting that guy. If you're thinking, when in doubt, there's no doubt that he might not love football, move on. That's what that speech told me. Go home and read a book and decide what you want to do.
So you think the Jets have another Josh Rosen?
You can't. You know what? Now we finally agree on something. Hi, Mark.
It's been a hell of a segment right here.
Gonna say,
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, moving the change. CBS Sports NFL Today Show. Pat's appearances courtesy of Pinchers with locations from Tampa to Key West, where you can't fake fresh. It's our first of 2 installments with Pat. Who knows what the hell the next segment's going to bring?
Football.
Not going to bring me. I'm not needed here.
We'll discuss the games and get into everything that's happening Saturday and Sunday. That's next with Pat Kirwan right here on Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening to the Florida Sports Network.
Bye, Pat.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That was fantastic.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, I care about football.
I got to tell you, Pat, I listened for a little bit yesterday. I was driving to my daughter's soccer practice and I wanted to chastise your co-host. I only listened to one call, which, you know, I don't love your call segments because you keep them on forever, but that's what you guys do. But you had that lady on that called, was worried about football. She was on your side, and Jim came at her like she was against him. And I'm like, Jim, she's on your side.
I know. I tried to stop.
He's
Jim.
making a point, and he kept kind of attacking her. And I'm like, Jim, leave her alone. She's on your side.
He wasn't listening to her.
No, he wasn't.
She was clearly concerned, and she was a mother and a woman who. So she's kind of basically said, "I know what my others are thinking."
Right. And that was that, you know, that her point was, what were mother watching the game saying to their husbands? Hey, my kid's not playing football. I thought her point, I mean, Clay Travis has been all over it. New York Times had an article yesterday about how violent football is. The View did a big thing on it. I mean, they're coming after football right now. Don't make any mistake. It'll go away because it'll be the next thing that they go after. But right now they're coming after football.
That's why Paul Alexander's over in Europe and Africa finding players. He just signed. Paul Alexander, get this, just signed to be the head coach of a team in Germany. Now, does that sound like a big deal? No. Do you know how many kids are in the program? 1,000. 1,000 kids. And he said there's already about 10 guys in the program that are Division I scholarship players. So they've paid him a ton of money to go over there. And he's sending them back. And that's where they're going. They're not worried about, American white women who don't want their kids to play. They're moving on. And the group he had in Africa, he said he ran a clinic about a month ago, and 500 kids showed up with their coaches. And he spent the whole time teaching the coaches how to coach the kids. And he said there was talent all over the place. Pretty interesting.
It is. It is, because I do think, it's a weird thing, because this is such an American sport with American players, and we follow them in college. I think the NBA's been hurt in America by the European influx of players. I don't. It's harder for people like me who just don't know where they come from to watch them. Doesn't mean the basketball's not great. Just means I'm not as familiar with the players.
Well,
I wonder if the same thing would happen in the NFL. We won't know for 20 years, Pat. But it's
no, I hear you loud and clear. But baseball's got a lot of foreigners.
Yeah, and baseball's attendance is down and ratings are down.
Football ratings, it's amazing to me. They just want to see a sack and they want to see a touchdown. And I don't think it's going to be the same, but I know what they're doing. They're bringing the kids over here. As soon as they think they're capable, either they're going to IMG. I mean, that's where the big tackle from Philadelphia went. Malata, he wouldn't even play college football. But Paul and the guys that are over there with him think that they're going to be sending incredible levels of talent over here to be trained. So get ready. Once they play American college football,
there you go.
Different.
Pat, 100%. Could not agree with that statement more.
So yeah, but I said to that mom yesterday, there's already a percentage of people that are never going to let their kids play football. Now, some of it's ironic because they won't let them play football, but they'll let them play hockey. It's amazing.
Oh, I know. Just talking about your own family there, Pat?
Oh, I have personal examples if you'd like to see them.
The one thing I came damn near texting you during your show, and I don't ever do that, but I was going to say Hireman. That was a kid that played hockey until he was in high school. There was this one thing that happened when these kids go to high school and they're playing hockey, or they're playing baseball, or they're playing lacrosse, that no one goes to the games. They go to one high school football game and go, cheerleaders, students.
I said it yesterday to that mom. I said, when they get to ninth grade.
Yep. Yeah, you did.
15 seconds.
And I'm seeing it already because one of mine is an 8th grader, and he's already putting the pressure on to play football because his two friends are playing junior high football, and they go to the high school varsity games on Friday nights, and he wants in on that.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan joining us an hour earlier than normal. So our remaining moments with Pat, we talked everything but the games of week 18. Now we'll get into week 18. Let's start with tomorrow night in Jacksonville, arguably biggest regular season game in that franchise's history, to be honest with you. And it is a really big deal. They're taking the tarps off the sections that they normally tarp, and they're maybe biggest home crowd in 20 plus years. Jags 6.5-point favorites for those that are interested against Joshua Dobbs and the Titans. Pat, can Tennessee steal this game?
Well, we know what they're going to do. They rested up King Henry, and they're going to ham the ball 40 times. That's their only choice. And he can keep a game close, and he might be able to do it. I'd be betting against Joshua Dobbs and betting on Trevor Lawrence and company. But it's a big moment for a team that's not been there versus a team that makes the playoffs all the time.
Yep.
So the defense of Tennessee They're getting Danico Autry back. If you go study the games when he plays, they are a rough outfit to beat. I think I would take Jacksonville. I think will win, but I'd take Tennessee in the points if I was in the betting world because I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
Do you give the Raiders any shot against the Chiefs? I know they're playing the backup quarterback, and they shouldn't have one, but this is one of those, we talk about Baltimore and Pittsburgh all the time of being one of the great rivalries. This is another great rivalry. This would make the Raiders season after blowing 5 double-digit leads. Do they have a shot?
Well, let's go back to the first game. The first game was 30-29, and everyone has to realize that. So now, does Stidham give you the production that Carr did? Probably can. That was a game they couldn't stop Josh Jacobs. It was a run game for them, but it was Mahomes and his 4 touchdown passes. So my answer is no. So there's 2 games right away where at least I'm not taking the backup quarterback approach to this. And I'm going to come up with 9 games where I know the backup's going to lose.
That was, Mark, first or second of the double-digit blown leads for the Raiders. They were up 17-0 in that Monday night game. All right. The Dolphins are a 2-point favorite against the Jets, and one's lost 5 in a row. The other's lost 5 in a row. Pat, Mike White's a better quarterback than what the Dolphins are going to put on the field. Is that enough for the Jets?
Sure it is. They're an angry group. Those guys on defense know that they have a championship level defense, and they'll enjoy beating the living daylights out of Skyler. And that's what I think will happen. Now, Mike White, I think we're finding out that he's not the guy. He hasn't even thrown a touchdown in 3 weeks. And he's not, it was never him. It was they didn't like Luke. And so he got carte blanche because he was the replacement for the guy they didn't like. But now on his own merit, he's not the guy. So they're going to be looking for a quarterback. But is he good enough in this game? Yes, because I think the defense is good enough. And I think the Jets, they're the one of maybe 2 teams that I think are going to enjoy ruining a division opponent in a game that means nothing to them.
The Bills have a ton to play for. On top of it, it would be knocking the Patriots out of the playoffs. All of the things going on sets up to me for Buffalo to have a really strong game. How do you see Bills and Patriots?
I think the Bills are going to be the most dangerous team in the league. I've said this to you guys before. When we got word Bird was okay, we went to Buffalo and we beat them, and we had no right to. But there was no way our guys were losing that game. They were going right to the hospital after the game and handing Dennis the game ball. And I think we're going to see that kind of emotional performance. And it might carry, Mark, all the way through the playoffs.
Bills a 7-point favorite at home against the Patriots. New England with a win. They are in. You know what? If Buffalo's going to beat New England and the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins, that means the Steelers could get in with a win over Cleveland. I'm a little surprised the line's as small as it is. It's just 2.5. Does Pittsburgh post another winning season for Tomlin?
Well, I'm already saying right here that they're going to make the playoffs because those 2 things are going to happen, and Pittsburgh is going to get in. And so is Green Bay.
Well, Green Bay's beaten Detroit. They're going to have to hope that, Detroit needs Seattle to lose. There's no way the Rams go in and beat Seattle this week, is there?
Did you see what Bobby Wagner said?
I was going to say, if Bobby Wagner wasn't on the Rams, Mark, I think they lose by 4 touchdowns. I think Bobby Wagner will play GM, and every guy who doesn't play hard in this game, he will make sure is not on the team next year.
I have a feeling you're all over it. Captain Bobby is looking for one thing. If I can't go, you can't either.
It's so funny. He's going to end up in their Ring of Honor, and they'll eventually kiss and make up and the whole deal. But right now, he is a spurned lover of the Seattle Seahawks.
Be careful. You know what I love about Mark's face right now? He don't believe any of that.
Not a single bit.
I know.
I think Seattle destroys them. There's nothing left for the Rams. One play, they're going to play hard, but they're outmanned.
So I like I've always been interested in body language because when you interview players, you got to really pick up more than what they say. So as you and I were talking, David, Mark leaned back in his chair and folded his arms.
Yep.
Which is like, I'm on this jury and you're guilty. That's what I just.
Yep. Mark's like, you two are idiots. I'm going to get alternate jurors in here as soon as I can. Yep. Do the Ravens even show up? Because, and I know they're a team that doesn't usually just mail it in, but they have to look at the standings right now and know, maybe we get Lamar back next week and we're probably playing these same guys next week.
Yeah, Lamar back next week. Tell me who told you that, because
Greg Roman.
Greg's praying he's coming back.
That's true.
No, I think this is a game they can't win right now. I think what we were witnessing was the Cincinnati machine the other night that was getting ready to roar. Did you see that first drive? It was
the second drive was going pretty well too.
Yes. So no, I think Baltimore, for the reasons you said, they know they're in. They're putting Hundley back on the field. What do we find out about him? He's not, when I hear people say last year, we got a really good backup in case the contract's a problem. No, you don't. You have a backup. As Bill Cowher says, they're called backups for a reason. They're supposed to stay on the sideline.
Pat, is there any chance Houston blows the number 1 pick of the draft here and beats the Colts?
Well, they're good at blowing a lot of things up. And if they screw that up, look, if they land up in the 2 spot, the guy in the 1 spot's going to be Chicago, and they're going to sell the spot to someone else who wants a quarterback. And they have to get to the 1 spot. And I think they will.
He's Pat Kirwan.
Although that means
7. Yeah.
Jeff Saturday will be a big part of this. He really knows how to run a football team.
Jim Harbaugh will be the coach there next year, Pat.
What about him in Miami? You keep talking about one guy.
Nah.
I don't think Stephen Ross is going to take Harbaugh. I just don't. He cares more about Michigan than he does the Dolphins.
Just count those empty seats, Mark.
They've been counting them for years, Pat.
Yeah, really.
I've been down here for 25 years. They've been counting empty seats for the last 20.
Well, he wouldn't have to give up Tua and a receiver to get Jim. And he'll think Jim knows how to fix Tua.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains. CBS's NFL Today show, joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, safe travels. Enjoy week 18. We'll talk Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you, fellas. Enjoy the day. It's fun being on with you, as always, Mark.
Absolutely fantastic, Pat. Brought his A game once again. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's moving the chains on Miller and Moulton right here. Where else?
Cut me, Mick. Cut me.
Yeah. You've been cut. Don't worry about it. You'll get the memo tomorrow.
Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online SWFLGolfCarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That Martin story's great. I remember watching that. Now the idea of staying up till 12:30 at night is the most horrific thing I could ever imagine.
I was going to say, and that story's getting told about 1:10 in the morning.
Thanks, KW.
Wow. Thank you. That's
feeling very John Travolta this morning with my shirt on, KW. Boy, I tell you, not to produce on the fly, but we could rerun Pat in the starting 5 and call it a day right now.
Except we have Dilfer.
Oh, that's right. Made the end of the Ohio State-Purdue game last night. I was pretty proud of myself.
Good for you.
It's like 9 o'clock. My wife's comment, she's like, so what do you got to watch tonight? I'm like, nothing really, but I'm going to watch college basketball.
And that was the early game last night, C's Mavs.
The Bruins have 30 wins in 38 games.
34-4. That is damn ridiculous. Felipe will do the pod at 8:21.
Gotcha.
Right, KW.
15. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you just missed our 2 segments with Pat Kirwan, because he joined us an hour earlier than usual, you will want to download them. floridasportsnetwork.com. I am bleeding about the head and chest. Pat took a sledgehammer to me throughout the 2 segments. Mark looks like Muhammad Ali when the interview was over. I look like Chuck Wepner.
Well, I actually looked like Ali because Foreman and Frazier were fighting one another, and I was watching from my couch. That's kind of the way I look at it.
You were sitting there going, I will take on the winner. All right, it will be no contest. Landry Burdine, TCU Radio. He'll join us, and he was terrific last week. He'll join us in an hour. Trent Dilfer scheduled to join us at the top of the bonus hour, 9 a.m. Eastern, here on Miller and Moulton.
Got to think Landry's a little superstitious. Came on the show, they won. We
Right.
said we hope to talk to you again. He goes, I hope I'm talking to you in a week.
Right. So, wanted to get him before he traveled.
They're leaving today, I would have guessed.
Well,
The team left yesterday, so he'll probably be joining them later in the week.
Listen, the game's Monday night in L.A. I mean, he lives in Texas. I mean, he can, he can fly in Sunday. He's doing radio sidelines. I mean,
So I watched this report on the game, and TCU does a little bit, the little 4-letter network thing, TCU does a bit. I just laughed at the difference between the two was evident at the end because Mark Schlabach does his report, and he says, and Georgia's flying on a special Delta Airlines flight with Vince Dooley's autograph on the plane. I mean, it is nice that the entire South supports, the entire state of Georgia supports the University of Georgia, but it's one, they have their own special Delta plane for the flight. TCU might as well be flying on the same plane that they used in Major League.
Is our Frontier flight ready? No? Mechanical delays? All right.
Bring the Spirit plane in, please. What, you're charging us for our carry-ons on our own flight? We chartered this?
Tell you what, though, money slowly beginning to change and come in on TCU, at least to cover. It's under 13 now, down to 12.5. Was as high as 13.5? Did it even touch 14? But
did not.
But at 13.5, so it's down a point this week. So it's Monday night. There'll be a late rush of money. I expect the late rush of money to come in on Georgia, but that's me, because that's usually the Sharks. I think the Sharks are going to look at the 4 and 5 stars versus the 4 and the 5 stars on the other roster, and they're going to bet accordingly.
I'm leaning to take the points for the record.
As well you should, the way TCU has played. And also Georgia suffered some key injuries in that game. This team is not as good as last year's team. I mean, we do have to acknowledge that. It's not. The running backs aren't as good. The wide receivers aren't as good.
The defense certainly is not as good.
No. I mean, come on. You can't lose what they lost off of last year's defense and be as good. Now, you could argue the quarterback is better. He is. All right. They have put many more games in his hands this year. Last year, Stetson Bennett does not rally Georgia back to beat Ohio State. He doesn't. So much more confident, better quarterback. They've opened up the passing game much more.
But defensively, if Harrison doesn't get hurt, I don't think they win that football game. I don't. They had no answer. The same way a year before, the Alabama
Williams got hurt.
Got hurt.
Yep.
These are the breaks, luck, whatever you want to call them, that we feel Georgia's had and that you have to have in order to win a championship. It's not a knock. It's just a fact.
And they suffered a couple of injuries against Ohio State. One guy blew out his knee. He's not playing, but, they could be down a couple of guys for TCU. Gut feeling, because I don't think you can run the ball to beat Georgia. I mean, they've lost one game in the last 2 years. They've been seriously challenged in only a couple of others. All 3 of those games involved quarterbacks who were going to be drafted and wide receivers drafted highly. Is TCU's passing game good enough to seriously threaten Georgia? I mean, before that mid-fourth quarter safety blitz, and I will say, Mark, to me, okay, Dugan, however you pronounce it, his best throws in that game were on the run. He threw some tremendous passes, running at a very high rate of speed or backpedaling very fast.
Well, that Johnston kid, number 1 for TCU, is an absolute stud.
Yes, he is.
But
that is an NFL player at receiver.
There's no doubt. Now, what else are they going to get in the passing game? Because I think Georgia, who tried to play man against Ohio State largely, and Ringo, who's a really good player, didn't hold up.
Well, no, because the guy he was playing against, a great player.
No, but I mean, I don't think they'll go to that. I don't know if they'll play that same defense. I think they can bracket this guy. I think they can take. I guess what I'm trying to say, David, is I think Georgia can take one receiver out of a game.
Well, I would like to think
good.
I would like to think that with one elite weapon versus 2 elite weapons, that they can make sure that his final stat line's not 9 for $170 and 2 touchdowns.
Correct. So who on TCU's receiving core can step up and make plays? And that's what I'm going to ask Landry. That's what I'm most curious about from TCU's end, David.
And we're scheduled to also have Chris Landry on the show Monday, and he'll break down the game and what have you. But that's, to me, Mark, in terms of the upset, I'm thinking, okay, let's think back the last couple years. Because you have to go back the last game that Georgia lost. That's not in the last 2 years. You got to go back to the cocktail party in 2020. And what happened? That was Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts, and kept running the same pattern all over again, that Georgia couldn't defend. But once again, it was a quarterback who got drafted late second round for the first half till he got hurt, was the receiver who got taken 4th overall. I mean, and how did you beat Georgia? You beat them throwing the ball. I don't believe, and I know TCU's got a good ground game and the whole, I don't believe you beat Georgia running the ball.
And I think TCU thinks that they can protect their quarterback. I think they believe their offensive line's good enough to be able to throw it.
I understand. Okay, they haven't blocked anybody like Carter. I just say that who got worn down a little bit in the Ohio State game, though. He did. He was much more effective early than late. That defense, some of those linemen had to play a lot more snaps than they're used to playing. The opponent they were playing got a lot more first downs than what they're used to giving up.
And Miller, the back for TCU, is questionable. He got banged up in the game. That obviously affects TCU because he's a really good player. Their backup played great against Michigan as well.
But remember when Michigan cut it to a score, and I don't know if it was 3, maybe it was 4, and they had, it was like mid-4th quarter, and they had TCU 3rd and long, and they came with this safety blitz from the short side of the field. And the safety did get pressure on him. I mean, he was unblocked, but he was late, and it took a long time. And, Duggan backing up there, hit that star, on the short cross, and he takes it to the house down the sidelines, and Michigan could never recover from that. First off, I don't think Georgia would make a defensive call like that. But before Max threw that pass, Mark, Do you know what his stat line was? It was 9 for 23. And I'm just wondering, he's a terrific college quarterback. And he's gutsy and a winner. And
checks off all the intangibles.
But is he good enough to beat Georgia? I mean, we've now seen for a few years, this is what Georgia brings to the fight. And you seemingly have to bring an NFL caliber quarterback and NFL caliber receivers if you're going to move the ball on them, put points up on them, and seriously threaten to beat them. And for as much as we are all in on this TCU story, all the close games that they won, the composure, all the fourth and fifth year seniors, okay, the quarterback story, Sonny Dykes, son of a West Texas coach. I mean, it's awesome. Never mind what TCU represents. I just don't know, Mark, if they have enough. It's only one game. Duggan could play great. Maybe there's somebody else that there's a matchup that they can exploit. I don't know. Maybe it's a tight end. I don't know. But right now, my gut feeling tells me that A, they don't have enough firepower. B, they're not going to get 2 defensive scores. C, Kirby's past the point of botching coaching decisions in big games.
And I mean, just think about the timeout he called on the fake punt.
Right. Listening, by the way, to his guys upstairs who told him, hey, that alignment's different. Okay, we got to call timeout. Probably saved the game. So, Kirby had his rough moments in game decisions. The first, how long's he been at Georgia now? Is this year 8? I mean, the first 3-4 years, Kirby had some massive coaching gaffes in big spots. Now Jim Harbaugh is having to answer to those. How ironic, okay, with his NFL experience and all that. But the other thing, Mark, that I believe is that, because I don't think Georgia really has a get cute game. I think Georgia's just going to line up and say to TCU, this is who we are, this is what we do, and if you stop us, you're going to win the national championship, which is what Michigan was doing until they got inside the 2-yard line, and then they went away from it twice. And Georgia, I think, is going to look at TCU and go, listen, you may stop us, but here's what's coming.
Well, I can guarantee you this. If Georgia has a 4th and goal from the 2, they're not running the Philly special.
Correct. Now, they may just hike it to Stetson, and he may run it around the end with a wall of blockers in front of him.
But if they don't get in, it's going to be 1st and 10 from the 1,
Correct.
Not the 10, if you know what I mean. That's just not who they are. I got to ask Florida fan. I really want to ask Florida fan right now, because this segment to a Gator fan has to be painful. It does. I've been on the other side of these when my team's the bad one or the not as good one. You chant SEC all the time. It's not Michigan. It's not Ohio State. You're not playing the Big Ten. Gator fan. Honestly, 21,000's the text line. Who are you rooting for?
Oh, TCU. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness, TCU.
Big, right?
Oh, just they hope it's a gut-wrenching defeat for Georgia. Right. Oh, my goodness. This is such a nightmare for you. They've had back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons, Mark. Okay. Alabama's now 2 dynasties in the same conference.
SEC. That's the commercials they run. They chant the conference name.
No way. No way. They're basically saying blank that.
I hope so. And by the way, Gator fan, I hope this is the first of the rest of your lifetime doing that, because you don't ever root for your rivals. Ever.
Ever. Ever. The other thing, though, that's really sobering for Gator fans, another reason why they're so desperately rooting for TCU is there's now 2 dynasties in their conference. One of them's a bitter rival.
Oh, it's their bitter rival.
And by the way, there's a chance that we eliminate the divisions going forward. Wait a minute. We may have to play both of these dynasties in the same year regularly? What? How good are we going to have to be? I mean, think about it. Georgia, Mark, is a win away from doing something Florida's never done. Steve Spurrier's on the Mount Rushmore of SEC coaching. Never went back-to-back. Urban didn't go back-to-back. Florida's got more pelts on the wall than Georgia, but they ain't never done what Georgia's a win away from doing. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I crushed the pre-SAT and got a letter from Miami. I was the most happy. I was like
the University of Miami.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I killed test scores. And so I got, stuff to, my mom looked at, there's no way you were going to school in Florida.
Wow. Mark Miller got a letter from the University of Miami.
I wanted to go so bad.
Oh, me too. I lived down.
I didn't know it was a private school. Like I was 16. I didn't even know it was a private school. I think if I'd have shown what the price tag was, my parents would have laughed me out of the room.
Oh, that's exactly why I didn't go to the University of Miami. And because, need like an insanely high SAT score, and I was like, Kind of want to leave either way. But it's the only way I would have stayed Miami. I would have gone to Miami. Plus, it's right down the street. I could have biked there. Yeah, me and Mark were just talking about how much we hate the Gators. Well,
how much you hate the Gators?
How much I hate the Gators. Yes, my bad. Sorry. Correction. Yeah, wasn't too fond of Tim Tebow being shoved down my throat as a kid. Made me really happy when he had a lackluster NFL career.
Doesn't matter. I did love him in college.
I did too.
He was a baller.
An all-time great.
Yeah. The Christian Laettner of college football.
Which is funny, though. I mean, Laettner was an a-hole. And
True.
Tebow was a saint.
That is a good point.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love Laettner. Anybody that clutch, you can be the biggest a-hole in the world.
Man. That I Hate Christian Laettner 30 for 30 is such a great document.
It was
awesome.
It's the fact that he was such a willing participant, I thought was very well on his part.
Well, and I think the part that I learned, you just think going to Duke, he just looked like such a rich kid,
right?
And he wasn't. He was on scholarship to go to high school in Buffalo, and great 30 for 30. And good morning, Cool Coyote.
I really like how they had Rob Lowe narrated it as well. That was pretty good.
Felipe, you'll love this. His freshman year, he was a freshman. Alonzo Mourning was a freshman. Duke and Georgetown.
You got to get our guest.
Oh, you're right.
We don't have a guest.
Oh, he's 8:30. I'm sorry.
Continue.
Laettner and Mourning faced off head-to-head for in the region final to go to the Final Four. It was at the Meadowlands in Jersey. I had like 15th row behind the basket.
Wonder if Adam knows Edgar from Palatka.
God, I drove by a Palatka sign yesterday. Every time I see a sign for Palatka, I laugh my ass off.
Did we play that call on our show, or did John just recite it?
No, John.
How much time we got here?
15 seconds.
So Edgar from Palatka calls Bowden on the coach's show after they got destroyed, and they're playing BYU the next week, and he gives them the old, "Coach, that's all right. You're going to beat BYU by 6 touchdowns. Thank you, Coach. God bless," and hung up the phone. It was like.
And Florida State went on the road and beat BYU.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. Heck, we're just halfway home in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Landry Burdine, TCU Radio. He'll join us coming up in a little more than 30 minutes' time. Trent Dilfer, 1 hour from now to start the bonus hour. He's the new football coach at UAB. In case you missed it, he was coaching a high school powerhouse in the greater Nashville area, and he decided to take the jump and go D1 college. We'll talk to the former Super Bowl champion quarterback coming up 1 hour from now.
It's remarkable to hear you say high school powerhouse in Nashville, because when I lived there so long ago, high school football is not what it is now there. That area has grown. College football or high school football has exploded in the Nashville area.
And that's because Nashville wasn't then what it is now.
Nope.
This just in, Mark. City explodes. Whole new talent base moves into the area.
No doubt.
Which also could help UT. I mean, for a generation, Tennessee, when they were down, part of the problem was what? They didn't really have a home recruiting base. They couldn't just recruit kids from in-state and compete at the level that they wanted to compete at. Not that they can now, but there are legit 4 and 5 stars now in state that aren't just located in Memphis that they can get.
Which might as well be another country to Knoxville. It's so far away.
And they're not necessarily married to the Vols in Memphis either, while Nashville, as you well know, is very much a Vols city.
Totally. Vanderbilt's an afterthought. They're just the cute little...
They are. Love their
West
baseball.
End. Yeah, love the West End of Nashville. Great little spot. Vandy's over there. You got Music Row, some nice restaurants.
Love the baseball. They're like, this kind of gets us to football season. We got, you know what, Vandy, this is your contribution. We like this. This is good. Yeah, outdoors. It's fun. We can go downtown before the game, after the game. This is fantastic. So, speaking of games, it's week 18, baby. No buys, 16 games, 2 on Saturday, 14 on Sunday. And you mentioned it with Pat last hour. Yeah, for those that are wondering, Pat normally joins us at this time. He joined us an hour earlier. You'll need to go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download the 2 segments. It will be worth it. That I will just leave it at that. Trust us, it will be worth the download.
Vintage Pat Kirwan today.
Grumpy Pat Kirwan. All right.
Depends on who you ask that question. I say vintage. Dave says grumpy.
Yeah.
That kind of just sums up how the interview went.
Exactly. Gives you an idea as to how the fight played itself out. But let's start with the games tomorrow. I think Vegas gives Kansas City a game because I think they'll score points on them. Now, I mean, Chiefs are going to get their 30 plus. But I think the Raiders are going to get to 24, maybe even 28. So I think it's a game. I think it'll be very entertaining if you're bored and you just, what the heck? I don't want to spend any time with family. I'll watch another football game. I actually think it'll be entertaining.
I think you're right, but I think Kansas City wins in the end. But I might be looking at taking the 9 points if I were betting the game.
And then 36 hours from now, for those that heard J.P. Shadrick, part of the Jags radio network yesterday, he sounded like he was the ring announcer at either a boxing match or a wrestling event. Man, he was in full voice, selling it right off the top of the interview. We didn't even ask him a question. And you and I looked at one another like, oh, wow. This is big. Listen to him 2 days out.
And, you're back in Jacksonville, David. You said you watched a little local news yesterday.
And this
all of a sudden, it's on.
Oh, my goodness. Forget the Speaker of the House, whatever, border, crime, please. Okay, first 8 minutes of the local news this morning. Action News Jacks, Mark. You know what it was? The Jags, 8:15 tomorrow night. All right, two, not one, 2 reporters live in the parking lot at 5 a.m.
Love the live parking lot in front of the stadium. No one around. No one's there. Empty.
The game's 39 hours away. They're standing
in local news. You know how this goes.
Opposite ends of the empty parking lot. This is what you need to know if you're coming to the game tomorrow. Meanwhile, I don't usually yell at the TV at 5:02 a.m. All right. My wife was up. I figured, you know what? I don't have to hold back. I can yell at the TV at 5:02 a.m. I'm yelling at the TV. We go to games. We know what to expect. This is new to you. It's not new to us. Okay?
It's not new to them. They have it every year. It's called Georgia versus Florida. They understand what a sellout looks like, David.
Yeah, but they got many more news people on this story, Mark. I mean, had a lot more research being done. Wait a minute. What's the name of our team again? Who are we playing?
Who are we playing?
Yep. Big game. Tennessee Titans.
Not the don't say Volunteers. Titans.
No.
Titans.
Titans.
Remember that.
Right. So big game, AFC South. Listen, nobody associated with this show at any point in time has more regard for the Tennessee Titans than me. And do I think Tennessee can win? Sure. I saw them on a Sunday night nearly go into Arrowhead with Malik Willis at quarterback, and they couldn't get first downs. And they had the lead late in the fourth quarter until Mahomes single-handedly beat them. So their defense is good enough. They can rush the passer. They can force mistakes, Mark. They can force Jacksonville to lose this game. They can get the 6 sacks and the 2 turnovers to create the havoc that they need to create, and then they get the sledgehammer the ball 35 times for 171 yards and a touchdown, and they get out of there 16-13. They can do it. I just don't think they will.
I like Jacksonville in this game because of the way they can attack you. ETN's playing really well right now. All of a sudden, they found a tight end. That's been a huge part of their offense. Roll your eyes some more over their Giants, Van, as Evan Ingram's going off.
I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm sitting there going, well, I'm glad somebody was able to get it out of him. I mean, that was kind of like when O.J. Howard left the Bucs, and Bucs fan was probably saying, well, somebody's going to get it out of him. Now it's not happened, but you know
and
what?
the
I'm
fact that
happy
their
for the
defense
guy.
is playing better, they know what they have to stop. It's a simple formula. And I'm with you, David. If Tennessee wins, it's 16-13, 17-16, 19-17. You know the game that's played. So to me, and I'm serious, can Jacksonville get to 20? Because if Jacksonville can get to 20, I'm telling you right now, they're going to win the football game. And I think they do.
If you can tell me Jacksonville plays a clean game, no turnovers, I would empty a savings account on the Jags. But Trevor's got what? 1 interception in his last 4 or 5 games. Doesn't mean he still doesn't throw the ball into coverage, though. I mean, if you watch closely, he's still throwing balls that are from time to time. I am worried about the sacks and the fumbles and what have you. I am going to be hesitant. Also, pressure on the Jags, Mark.
All the pressure's on the Jags.
They're now expected to win. They're the team in first place.
They're a touchdown favorite in this game. It's 6.5, but they're a touchdown favorite in this game. Yes, every bit of pressure is on them. Quarterback's been in this position before. I know it's been on Saturdays, not Sundays. Maybe the fact that they're playing Saturday night's perfect for Trevor.
I'm going to take the Titans and the points with the Jags to win. 20-16, Jags.
23-12, Jags. I'll lay the points.
I like the ugliness. Let's see. You've got 35. I've got 36. What's over under?
40.
Oh, okay. So there you go. There you go. Just for the record, I'm also going to take the Bills and lay 7. The Vikings and lay 7.5. I wish I had said that earlier in the week when it was like 5. But I got to, suffer the consequences. I love the Steelers minus 2.5. Might be my favorite play of the weekend. You can't tell me Cleveland's going to be all in on this game. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I don't care how much they hate them. I don't believe it. I don't believe this team is whole. I really don't. And Carson Wentz isn't playing for the Steelers this week.
I actually think it could be Stefanski's last day on the job with the Browns.
And I do like the Packers laying the 4.5 on Sunday night because I think the Lions will be eliminated. They'll play hard in the whole deal, but ultimately,
I don't know if they'll play that hard when they know they're already. I mean, they'll play hard, but they're going to be so deflated because they're going to be eliminated. It was an unfair advantage to Green Bay in this game, completely. But the NFL loves the Packers, so they do what they can for them.
Well, also NBC. I'm telling you, NBC had some influence here. NBC did not want the Titans and the Jags. That does not equal ratings. You write the equations out, so-and-so, 1 + 1 equals Tennessee plus Jacksonville equals no ratings. That's what that equals. Detroit at Green Bay equals second biggest draw in the sport. Ratings. Mark, to think that this league could get Pittsburgh and Green Bay as the respective 7 seeds, with Dallas already in. That's the trifecta right there, baby.
It really is. The only other one they'd really want, I mean, they got a New York team in.
Yeah. I mean, are you kidding?
If you could replace the Vikings with the Bears, this would have been a home run for the league. Don't kid yourself.
You can't cash in all your chips.
No.
Right
No. This is really, really good, though. Really good. And Mr. Boutte says Brady's in the playoffs.
And what we could get, though, is the Bears on the clock. So that's where we could get the Bears as compensation. They could have the number 1 pick in the draft.
We'll rapid fire through all the games that we didn't get to, plus our play of the day coming up on the other side. Trent Dilfer, the new UAB coach, in the bonus hour at 9 o'clock on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
No, Adam, I couldn't. I definitely couldn't. But then again, I didn't see Tannehill getting this hurt where he couldn't play.
Show up the trash bin.
No, the Titans are eliminated with a loss. They'd be 7-10. The Jags are the team, as you know, Adam, that can get in with a loss. I mean, let's face it, the two games that I saw the Titans winning, I mean, they actually, they had a tough stretch here. They had the Bengals, they had the Eagles, they had the Chargers, they had the Cowboys. But the two games that I thought they'd win were the two division games. They were home for Jacksonville, and they were home for Houston. I didn't see them losing those. I was told, by the way, Mark, that the meeting went very well and that we were going to get an email today to explain things.
Great.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Me too. I couldn't even get answers for a watch party. So I only sent 3 emails on that.
Well, the other guy, I mean...
Well, it's been my point all along. If we're going to do this, could we run this like a company once, just for 6 months to try to run it the right way?
Mm-hmm.
It's only my livelihood riding on it. Speaking of which, any of you guys want to buy a house? Any house, I don't care. Preferably one that's really expensive. Or sell your house, particularly if it's really expensive.
I'm sorry, I did what I could.
You did everything you could, and I owe you forever for it.
No, you don't. Not only that, God, it was 72 hours. It was fantastic. Mark, I do things quickly. I had cancer for 5 days. We sold the house in 3. I mean, I don't mess around.
Everything, I'm guessing, because I didn't hear from you, everything went well yesterday.
Oh my God, my sugar's down 40 points. I lost weight.
Way to go, David.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm happy.
Came home once again, looked at my wife and said, I'm the healthiest person in the family. Take a look at me. And she looked at me, and of course, then had that look on her face, and I go, says a lot about our family, doesn't it? Huh? Unfortunately, it's true.
I'm going to have to buy a Mega Millions today.
Just under a B.
I'd just take 5 large. I don't even need the whole. Can I just win one of those tickets?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you're expecting Pat Kirwan, he had to join us an hour earlier than usual. So that was last hour. So go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download it. It was very contentious. Well, just my side of the interview. Mark's side was loving and cuddly and wonderful. My side, we were in the corner. We were going at it.
Well, you were trading people, and you had your side figured out without, in Pat's estimation, understanding the other side. And that usually starts the war between the two of you.
I understand the other side. Okay. When I want to trade, we're trading. You can keep raising the price. I will most likely match it. Okay. Come on now. Let's move this along. I don't have time. Okay. Let's go. Anyway. All right.
Landry Burdine will join us to talk TCU coming up in about 16 or so minutes. But we've got to get through the rest of these NFL games.
We do. Trent Dilfer, top of the hour, by the way. So Bucks Falcons. Do we think Tampa Bay puts any kind of effort into this or no?
No.
Yeah, that's why Atlanta's a 4-point favorite. So that means the Bucks will finish with a losing record.
Okay.
All right. I'm just saying. I think we're going to see Trask. I think that's it. It sounds like Brady's going to start. Going to play a little bit, and then we're going to get Kyle Trask. If I'm a Bucks fan, I got to admit this interests me. I want to see, does this guy have a pulse or no? Jets Dolphins. Jets going to ruin all chance for Miami? I say yes. What have you seen? What have you seen from Bridgewater / Skylar Thompson that gives you faith that they can win a game?
It's the Jets.
It's a pretty good answer, Mark. Gotta be honest.
Who won the first game?
The Jets. Against Bridgewater and Thompson. Remember?
I got you. But
okay,
two average teams in the same division. I'm taking a hunch here, and the Miami Dolphins win.
Giants and Eagles. Giants aren't playing. They're playing Tyrod Taylor for one. I don't think you're going to see Saquon. I mean, come on. Eagles have to win to be the one. I don't know if the Eagles cover 14. I think they do, but we all know who's going to win, right?
Absolutely.
Do we think the Patriots have a snowball's chance to go into Buffalo?
I think the Bills are going to whoop them. I think the news yesterday just starts laying the groundwork for Buffalo to get everything back in order. And I think that they pound the Patriots.
Here's the thing that interests me, though. If Kansas City wins Saturday, the Bills know they're not the one. And we have no idea what the NFL owners are going to decide today or what have you. But the Bills could know before that game that they're pretty much the two. Now, I guess there's a chance them and the Bengals could be tied. Their conference records would be even. So I don't know who wins a Bills-Bengals tiebreaker since they didn't play. But if Buffalo's locked in as the two, and it's been a very emotional week, there's a part of me that wonders, do the Bills start off with a lot of emotion, but that their tank's not as full as New England's?
I think the decision by the owners has a lot to do with this. If they're going to put this neutral site thing in, then I like the Bills a ton. If they don't, David, you are on to something.
I think we'll find out right away. Remember, New England has really struggled the last 3 meetings with Josh Allen in the offense, and I mean really struggled. So you'll get a pretty good idea right away. If for whatever reason Allen and the Bills don't have it going on in the first half, you're like, ooh, this is different than how they've played lately. I lay in the points with the Bills, by the way. Love the Vikings against the Bears. Nathan Peterman, by the way, for Chicago. If I gave you free tickets and you lived in Chicago, would you go?
No. No.
Browns Steelers, we both like Pittsburgh,
Both
right?
like Pittsburgh, yes, absolutely.
I think the Steelers are making the playoffs, by the way. I think both Patriots and Dolphins lose and Pittsburgh's in. Baltimore, Cincy, we don't even know if,
I like Cincy in this game because they still want to win the division, David.
I don't even know if Tyler Huntley's playing.
Right.
He
They
didn't
could be a
practice
third-string
yesterday.
quarterback for this game.
Right. Houston, Indy.
I'm taking Houston. Nobody can screw things up like the Texans. They're going to screw up the first pick and win this game.
I'm taking the Colts. Jeff Saturday comes in with a win, goes out with a win. And in the middle, oh my goodness.
What a disaster.
Do you think Steve Wilkes has a chance to get the Carolina job? And do you think that the final week's performance bears any impact?
Yes and yes. I'm taking Carolina for that reason. I think you'll get him to play.
Okay. Yeah, I like Carolina also because for whatever reason they seem, I think, more invested. I think the Saints
won 3 in a row, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, but now they're out. And I think that they'll, this is a team with heavy expectations. Chargers, who apparently are also resting guys against Denver. I love the Broncos.
Yeah, give me Denver in that game just because they're resting players. This is perfect. Denver's had an absolute disaster of a season. They'll win this game.
Do you think Brock Purdy's success is going to hurt Jimmy G on the open market? I mean, think about it. One of the big things with Jimmy G is what a winner, their winning percentage with him. Well, heck, then Brock Purdy goes in there, runs the offense effectively, and they win. I mean, why should I pay $30 million a year for this guy?
Maybe a little, but it doesn't matter. San Francisco is going to beat the Cardinals.
And we all think it's Kingsbury's last game.
Right.
I think the Rams give Seattle all they can handle. I think Seattle wins a close one.
I think Seattle wins and going away.
Ron Rivera's changed his tune. He's playing Howell, the third-string quarterback. He's putting in a lot of youngsters at positions where veterans were. Dallas is now suddenly a 7-point favorite, even though they could look up at the scoreboard second quarter. Eagles are kicking the Giants, you know what, and realize they got nothing to play for.
I'll still take Dallas.
Would you lay the 7.5, though?
Probably not. I think it'll be within a score.
Give the Packers, and I'm laying the 4.5. I think Detroit will play them tough, even though they'll be eliminated from the playoffs before the game. I just think ultimately it's Aaron Rodgers at home and Jared Goff and the Lions at Lambeau. This just in, they don't do well there.
Does not go well for the Lions in Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins. For our Clutch Vodka play of the day, Felipe, it's an easy one today. What do you
Mar is healthy and
healthier.
True. And there was an amazing quote from the doctors who did to them.
One of our partners, when he asked, did we win? The answer is yes. DeMar, you won. You've won the game of life. And that's probably the most important thing out of this. And we really need to keep him at the center.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. That's clutch with a K. Find it wherever you buy. Hashtag your drinks that you're pouring.
It's the doctor's quotes, not mine, yesterday. And they believe he has full neurological health. Unbelievable. Remarkable. Thank goodness.
No doubt there. And a great play of the day. We will switch from the NFL to college football. Landry Burdine is a TCU radio sideline reporter covering the Horned Frogs. We will get the perspective from TCU's side of things as they take on the Dogs Monday night for the net pulling for TCU. Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Okay.
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show.
Vodka play of the day.
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play.
Okay.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. That's clean, crisp, smooth on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FL Golf covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Damn. LSU women's basketball had a player that had 26 and 28 last night. Now that's a stat line. Angel Reese.
And FGCU went down there last year and beat them.
Really? And they're ranked 7th right now, LSU.
And Kim Mulkey afterwards complained bitterly about having to play them.
Just got an email from Bruce that we got the guy sent over stuff on Wednesday at 4:00 to Donnie. This is probably too late. I said, how did he get this on Wednesday and we don't get it till Friday? We haven't promoted this at all. I don't know how we can do this. Donnie failed us on this one. Send. That's such bull crap. I was all for this on Monday. I was going to go. I was going to sacrifice my Sunday and drive to Naples, for Christ's sake. For nothing, for not a dime. Come on, man. Good gracious. Adults, David. Blue hole. It's Zinger's birthday, by the way.
It's my late grandfather's birthday. 60?
Yes. And Jameis is 29.
It's all over TCU.
By the way, Justin Fields is 73 yards away from breaking the record. Oh, sorry.
Speaking of, did you call it?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida.
.com. Trent Dilfer is scheduled to join us at the top of the hour. You may remember him as a quarterback and a ESPN broadcaster. He's gone into coaching. He's the new head coach at UAB. So the former Super Bowl champion quarterback will join us in about 25 minutes' time. We threatened him a week ago with checking back in this week. Landry Burdine, TCU Radio. And we were thinking of you watching the game. We were. You made an impression. We loved your 10, 12 minutes, your enthusiasm, your breakdown of the game. Just personally, and Landry, a belated Happy New Year. Congratulations to you and all the Frogs. As that game was playing itself out, as somebody who was a TCU captain, okay, just what was it like? What did it mean?
Yeah, I think that's the question, right? It was surreal. For sure. It was early in the game where I pretty well knew that we had it. I mean, obviously you could screw it up and make some mistakes, and we tried a few times. But, I was like, okay, I really do think we're better than these guys now that I've seen, a few drives and everything else. But So it's tough to enjoy that kind of game because TCU has never been in a game where they had the ability, a bowl game, if you will, where they had the ability to play another one, right? The system just wasn't set up that way. We kind of talked about that last week. So to think that, hey, we're going to win the Fiesta Bowl, and this train gets to continue to ride down the tracks is pretty incredible just to think about in the moment. But once they won the game, I think you saw an outpouring of emotion from fans and players and everybody else alike that was a long time coming, from all those opportunities that the Frogs had that they weren't really given a chance to compete for a national championship. And I thought of all my teammates. I thought of my coaches. I thought of Coach Patterson. I really did in the moment because, he had dreamt of this and he had thought it would be possible. And so I knew that it would have been important to him. And I thought of my wife and kids, honestly enough, which is interesting because they've kind of been along this bumpy ride with me for decades. So yeah, but at the same time, I had a freaking job to do. I had to go interview all the players on the field after the game. So I kind of had dueling roles going on there between a fan and a guy who had a job to do. So it was really a fun night.
It was an incredible night for TCU. They took it to Michigan for large portions of that game. Now come the Dogs, who are, I thought they were Michigan on steroids a little bit, that they're a similar team. But what impressed me about TCU, and you talked about it, at the line of scrimmage, TCU held up. Can they hold up with Georgia?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. They've held up with everybody, right? And it's not like, Georgia's that drastically different than all these other teams. Where Georgia's different is TCU is not going to have the speed advantage that they had on Michigan. I think that's pretty clear. And, size-wise, they're actually pretty comparable. So it's a pretty evenly matched game. I think Georgia has more depth, obviously. So, as guys get dinged up, that matters. But, I throw our starting 11 up against theirs all day long. And I think the senior leadership that we talked about last week, guys, I think you saw that come into play in that Fiesta Bowl. And I'll ride that all day long. I'll worry about next year. There's going to be a lot of guys that are gone that have meant a lot to this football team. But, for right now, I'll go with some seniority all day long. I think it's going to be a really good football game.
Landry Burdine, he's part of the TCU radio crew. He's their sideline reporter, former captain for TCU. You can follow Landry on Twitter at Landry Burdine, Burdine. How did TCU come out of the game health-wise? Anybody going to be less than 100% that you know of? Anybody who you think he ain't going to be able to play?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Kendrick Miller plays, starting tailback. He's an NFL guy. He'll be a, first, second, third rounder. He's that good. So that hurts. He's kind of really been the guy that's carried the team. Now, that's nothing official. I know that they're trying to get him ready as we speak, but knees are weird, especially for a running back, and especially a running back that has the balance that Kendrick does. So when one of your wheels is a little wobbly, that doesn't bode well for a running back. I hope to see him play, but I'm not confident there. But other than that, no, the Frogs are as healthy as they could be, coming into what is, I guess, the 15th game of the season, which is really hard to believe.
It really is, Landry. It really is. I think everybody in the country was ultra impressed with Quentin Johnston, who was a stud that's going to play on Sundays. There's no doubt. Who else from the receivers had to step? Because Ohio State was good. Ohio State had enough to win it. Harrison went out. It took a little bit away. It seems that Georgia will have a way to handle one receiver. Are there other receivers you think that need to step up in this game for TCU?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that's the matchup everybody's going to be keeping an eye on. So Savion Williams is basically a Quentin Johnston clone. He's the same size. Has dreads. They look very similar on the other side of the field. He's really good. Darius Davis is kind of the slot back, the speed guy. He's one of the fastest guys in the country. He's just a playmaking dude. You got a 6'7" tight end, and Jared Wiley, who's a Texas transfer, who's an absolute weapon. He reminds me of Georgia's tight ends, to be honest with you. He'll play on Sundays as well. So, the skill position weapons that the Frogs have are diverse, they're deep, and they're all old. These guys are all experienced guys that have been around the block, and I'll put Max Duggan throwing them the football up against anybody. I really will.
Landry, and we're talking with Landry Burdine, TCU Radio. A week ago today, you were very confident, X's and O's wise, talent wise, that TCU matched up very well with Michigan. The only concern that you agreed with us on was you said, well, you never know if they can handle the moment until they show up in the moment. Well, clearly they handled the moment. Do you sense that the football team is in the exact same frame this week as they clearly were last week?
Yeah, I do. I think that they've been in that mindset since the beginning of October. They've been playing playoff football since the beginning of October, if you really think about it. And this is a team that could not afford to lose at the wrong time. And the mindset hasn't changed at all. You would even think, right, that there might be a little let up, just human nature, that they'd be like, all right, we made it. We finally got there, and now whatever happens, happens. Well, they're not. I think maybe some fans are, but I can promise you the team is not. So, they have been very public about we're going to win. This is, there are no, I guess, moral victories with this. And, the guy that I always hated to fight was the guy that had nothing to lose. And that's this team.
How clean does Dugan have to play this game? 14-29 with 2 picks isn't ideal. It's got to be better to me. How does it have to be to you for TCU to win this game?
Yeah, he was pretty clean. Those picks weren't his fault. If you go back and look at them, he drilled Darius Davis in the chest and bounced off of him, and the second one was very similar. So I do think that he's going to have to handle the pressure that Georgia's going to bring on him really well. They are going to bring some heat, and they're going to try to keep him from being able to use his legs. And they're going to say, okay, you're a good pocket passer. Well, we're going to make you be a great pocket passer. I really do think they're going to try to just keep him in there. I think they're going to have a spy on him at all times. And if he tries to get out and run, they're going to have that spy allocated to him to keep that from happening. They're going to have a controlled pass rush, and they're going to try to keep him in the pocket. Now, I really think that's probably their game plan. So, from that standpoint, it's going to force him to be really accurate on his throws. And there have been some games this year where most of the games he has been, there's been a few where he hasn't. So that's one of the keys to this game for me.
Landry, bigger picture. First off, how much do you think this is going to change your alma mater? But also, how much that TCU winning against a blue blood? And I know they're in the Big 12 and all that, but you know what I'm getting at. Okay, TCU just upset the world order in college football. I think they added so much more oxygen to the upcoming 12-team playoff because now you've got so many more fans thinking, well, I'll be damned. Maybe anybody can beat anybody. But just, the significance of last week going forward.
I think you nailed it. Sorry, guys. I've been rattling these vocal cords for a while the last week. I think you nailed it. I think it's good for college football. I think college football wins with TCU. And I do think they upset the world order because the world order was set up to keep them out for the longest time. And it's you asked what it does for our university. It's monumental. It is life-changing. It's life-giving. For a lot of universities that are probably struggling post-COVID to justify having athletics, look no further than the investment that has been made at TCU over the last 20 years. Guys, when I was playing football in '97, we won one game and they thought about folding up shop. They really did. They thought about getting rid of the program. And ever since then, what they decided to do instead was, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it big. We're going to go in with big investment. We're going to pay our coaches well. We're going to attract the top talent, and we're going to win. And we're going to win our way out of all these crappy conferences, get into a real conference, win that too, and then go win a national championship. All those things were verbalized, and now that's coming to fruition. That's how big this is for the school, that this is happening right now.
And not that you didn't do it with them in the conference. I'm not suggesting that at all, but it does lay the groundwork for the future of TCU being able to, hopefully, for you to dominate the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma leaving.
Yeah, I think so. But you got to remember, I think what the 12-team playoff does for college football is it's more democratic. You're not going to see these 4 schools dominate recruiting the way that you have historically, because now there's 20 schools that believe they have a chance, right? And I think that's going to be really, really good for parity, and I think that's going to be really good for intrigue and eyeballs on our game. And I think it's fascinating to think about the implications of that. I really do think that that's the case. Now, could TCU dominate the Big 12? I would argue that TCU has had a better run since they got in the Big 12 than just about anybody, right? They've been better in Texas the last 12 years. I think we've won 9 out of 12. Oklahoma obviously has a lot to say about that. But with Oklahoma leaving, you got really Kansas State, Baylor, and TCU are the only other schools I think that have been to a Big 12 championship. So, yeah, I'd like them to dominate. But you know what scares me? Central Florida, largest school in Florida, all of a sudden having a Power 5 conference to recruit to. That's scary. Houston, second largest school in Texas, same thing, right? So you're breathing life into these programs that can do some damage when they get that.
Landry, final question. If points off turnovers are even, toe-to-toe, TCU, Georgia, you loved TCU's chances against Michigan. How do you feel about them against Georgia?
I feel just as good. I don't think that sounds arrogant. Let me back up. I knew, and I think I verbalized to you guys pretty clearly that I thought TCU was faster, right? I mean, we talked about that. I think the starting 11 on both sides are very comparable in this football game. TCU has every opportunity to win this game, and I truly believe that. Georgia is a much, much better football team than Michigan. So it is a monumental challenge, but it is one that the Frogs can win, and I'm confident that they can do that.
Landry, safe travels. Try to rest the voice over the weekend and soak up Monday night and enjoy it. And best of luck.
I will. Guys, I appreciate you having me back on. As you well know by now, there's nothing I like talking more about than Horned Frog football, so I really appreciate it.
Landry Burdine, part of the TCU Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter at Landry Burdine, Burdine. And he'll be on the sidelines at SoFi Monday.
All the Gators are in your corner, Landry. There is no doubt.
Are they ever?
There is no doubt.
They may buy some gear if they win. They may buy some gear. They may wear it to next year's cocktail party just to rub it in.
Half the crowd will be in red. The other half will be in purple for that game. It'll look a little different.
That'd be fantastic, by the way. Even if they just wore it to the tailgate, changed before going in.
Well, you know what happens when you mix red and blue? You get purple.
Miller and Moulton.
Fashion designer over there.
Well, got to bring something to the table. Trent Dilfer is next. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So Brock Purdy's a third string quarterback. Skylar Thompson's a third string quarterback. Sam Howell's a third string quarterback. Joshua Dobbs is a third string quarterback. How many other third stringers?
Did you say Trask? I was typing something.
Well, he's not starting,
No, he's
but,
not starting,
but
but
he'll probably play. So Trask would be a third string quarterback. Here's the irony. Technically, Sam Darnold was the third string quarterback at one point this year, but Baker Mayfield in Los Angeles is at least a third string quarterback.
Right.
I mean, it is remarkable. Yinzer, Peterman's technically the backup, though, in Chicago, wasn't he? Or who was the backup? I thought he was the backup.
Hang on.
Did anyone catch the ref cam for the Michigan TCU game?
No.
There was a shot of
Thank you for that.
Jim Harbaugh screaming at the ref, and it was just a first-person perspective of Jim Harbaugh on your face. It was very funny.
Oh, okay. So Trevor Siemian was the backup. So Peterman, yeah. Okay. There's another third stringer. What's that, like a half a dozen? That's unbelievable.
You know, the Bruins, tied the Canadians for fastest to 30 wins. They're ahead of the Bruins pace, or they're slightly ahead of the Canadians pace for the best record of all time.
We're talking the 76 Canadians there?
Yeah. They were 60-8-12.
And they're 34-4.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, slightly. I mean, ever
right.
so slightly.
but right. The Bruins are on pace for 61 or 62 wins. Sure.
Trent Dilfer is on hold.
That is awesome.
You know what I didn't do today? I never tweeted out the show. Son of a bitch.
Okay.
I didn't, because I don't even have Twitter up. I've not looked at Twitter the whole show. It just dawned on me.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It is a pleasure. It has been a long time, but it is a pleasure to welcome back Trent Dilfer, and we welcome him back as the head football coach of the Blazers of UAB. You can follow Trent on Twitter at Dilfer's Dimes. Coach, it's David and Mark. A belated Happy New Year. Thanks for your time. How are you?
What's up, guys? Happy New Year.
When did you first get the coaching bug? Like when you were playing, were you thinking, I might want to coach someday? When did you first start thinking, I'm going to be a coach?
That's a great question. Towards the end of my career, I started feeling maybe that or management. I had some opportunities right out of my career. I had girls, I had 3 daughters. And what really stopped me was my daughters growing up around the building. If I would have had boys, I would have for sure. But I didn't. I had so many coaches that had daughters that didn't have their daughters around and weren't very good husbands and fathers. So I didn't want that to happen to me. That's why I chose TV instead. And then I had retired in 2017 to Austin, Texas, and had played a bunch of golf and lived the American dream and lived on the lake and all that stuff. And woke up one morning, just didn't feel like I had any purpose. And that's really when the coaching bug really took over. And I knew that was kind of my purpose for this next phase of my life.
How did the UAB job come to be? You're coaching high school. I mean, obviously you have the pedigree. You were an NFL quarterback. I get all of those things, but a jump from high school to college doesn't happen that often. Just explain to us how this all came to be.
Well, I think a couple things, it'd be impossible to understand what we did in Nashville if you weren't in Nashville, but we really didn't run a high school program. And all the colleges that came through would always say, wow, this kind of is better than our place. You run it like an NFL building, and that's kind of what we did. So we built something out of the dust in Nashville. Even though it was called high school, it was run at a very high level. We were dominant for a period of time. And as the colleges started coming through, people kept asking, why are you doing it here? And I said, well, I love it. The calling, and I feel like we're having great impact on these kids, and we're winning every game. So why wouldn't we do it? About 8 weeks before I took this job, my wife and I were talking. I'm like, sweetie, this is perfect. All these agents were calling me. All these ADs were calling me around the country and seeing if I'd get into the college game. This happened last year too. And I looked at her and I said, I'm good at high school. And she looked at me and she said, no, you were made for more than this. You need to do what you've done here and take your team with you and go build this into college. And we got your back, basically, me and the family. And that kind of freed me up to go do this. And kind of went down the road with UAB, a few others, got to know that the AD here really well, got to trust what was going on, really feel great about the region, the people, the president, the donor base, all the different things goes into building a big-time college football program, and that's why I chose UAB.
And we're talking with Trent Dilfer, who's the new head coach of the Blazers of UAB. You know, Trent, we just got done talking with someone associated with the TCU football program. And obviously, in this state, we have spent the 15 years we've been together talking about the potential of UCF and South Florida. Well, being in the TV business, you know, Birmingham's the number one college football market in the country for ratings, and it ain't close. I mean, so you combine interest in the sport along with the talent available nearby. I mean, you know, do you look at UAB and go, well, heck, we could beat TCU one day?
Yep, exactly right. And I'll add one more thing, the quality of high school coach. That's not what talked about enough. You know, you hear the two things you said all the time about taking mid-majors and building them into great programs, but the quality of the high school coach is matters as much as anything, because you want to bring in a student athlete that's had high demands, high standards, been expected to do a lot, taking a professional approach to his academics as well as the sport. I mean, that's the ideal situation. And especially with the transfer portal and all the different things going on in this landscape, you want kids that are a little more mature. So the quality of high school coach in Alabama might be as good as anything in the country. A lot like Texas, a lot like Florida, Alabama's rich in talent. It's rich in big guys. You know, that's the hardest thing to find recruiting are big body athletes. There's a lot of them in Alabama. Yes, you're competing against University of Alabama and Auburn and some other really good mid-majors, but there's a lot of talent to go around too. And there's a fit here in Birmingham. Like you said, it's number one ratings TV market in the country. Football matters more here. It's life or death. You know, all those types of things we believe set us up for a great opportunity to build this thing into something special.
Is recruiting harder than you thought? The same as you thought? Obviously, from being at an academy, you had an idea of trying to bring kids in, and they're coming to you more than likely. But with UAB, just recruiting, how much is this? How much has the surprise been from a recruiting standpoint, Trent?
I've been pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't call it hard or easy or anything else. It is what it is, right? We're trying to connect with kids, be transparent with them, be authentic with them. We don't want to trick them to get here. And that's the one message I've had for all my coaches and our recruiting people is, you know, let's not try to trick them and be something we're not. We don't want them to show up on campus and go, who are these people? That's not who recruited me. And that happens a lot. You know, I have 3 daughters that were very, very big time recruits in college volleyball. And all 3 of them ended up going somewhere where the person that recruited them was not the person that coached them every day. The personality, I should say, of that person. And we've tried to be real authentic with these kids. I think they've appreciated that. You know, we signed 16 out of the first 24 that we had visit campus. It's a pretty high percentage. I think this little mid-year, we're either going to be 7 for 7 or 6 for 7. We'll find out this morning. I think kids have appreciated that. We're going to be real with them, and we're identifying a certain type of kid, not just athlete. So there's a good fit there, and I've been pleasantly surprised. Now there's some challenges. Don't get me wrong. Now with NIL and you know these kids just it's become what I remember as free agency in the NFL. You know, for 14 years I experienced this, and I'm hearing these kids' stories. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a version of what I went through as a professional athlete. But that's fine. You know, we're not in that game. We're not in a position where we can do that, nor do we want to do it. So we got to identify a certain type of kid, and we believe in our ability to develop a student athlete holistically that'll pour over onto the football field. And people might think I'm crazy. People might think it is Willie's and Joe's and the best athletes win. But my 42-year football life, my experience has been you got to have enough talent. But at the end of the day, it's the decisions you make. It's the type of player you are more than the athlete you are. It's the type of teammate you are. It's how you fit your role. That builds great teams. And we're trying to build a great program here.
He is the head football coach at UAB. He is Trent Dilfer. You can follow him on Twitter at Dilfer's Dimes. Dilfer's Dimes. Your words, you said, you know, everything that's going on out there, quote unquote, in college athletics. There are some coaches who are clearly, you know, publicly saying, got to admit, I don't like the world that we're in right now. Don't know how long I'm going to be for this college football world. As someone who's been on both ends of this world as a player and now a head coach, what's your thought as to where we are? Is this comfortable? Is this gonna be okay?
Well, I'd want more as a high school coach, and that's probably where I learned the most. A high school coach is one of the best programs in the country. So I had Ryan Day and all these guys sit at my desk and talk about recruits and talk about the landscape of football. I'm not saying Ryan is the one that said this, but those type of people. And the common theme was exactly what you just said, like, what is going on? This is a crap show. And I kept posing the question, well, does it affect you from impacting these kids in a positive way? And they would pause and be like, well, I guess it doesn't. And I think that's the bigger thing here is we have a great opportunity in this seat as head football coach of any college program to help shape these young men's lives for the better and impact them in a great way. Does winning matter? Heck yeah. And if anybody questions my ability to win, meet me in a parking lot and let's play wiffle ball or let's play anything. I've proven over the course of my life that I'm an assassin on the field as a competitor. So yeah, I want to win everything, but that's not the fastball. That's the curveball. That's the secondary thing to impacting kids' lives for the positive. And no matter what a crap show that college football is and the landscape we're in, which I would probably agree with him if you're only looking at it from a competitive landscape, we have an incredible opportunity to shape 120 young men's lives and 45 staffers' lives for the better and teach them principles that are going to help them dominate life, become better husbands and better fathers. And I think that's what, and I get it, that's not the sexy, flashy thing that you guys can talk about on radio and get better ratings or that, you know, the college game day can lead with and everybody feels good. But at the end of the day, you have two types of coaches. You got passion coaches and you got ambition coaches. And unfortunately, this thing's tilted towards ambition coaches. And what they're seeing is their personal ambitions can't be as accomplished fast enough with the current landscape because they can't control it. And my argument to that, well, the passion coaches, we don't really care because we're going to coach out of passion. We're going to coach out of purpose. We're going to affect young men's lives in a positive way. And then we're going to figure out how to win within the current landscape. And that's kind of the narrative we have around here. That's why I think it's an incredible privilege and honor to be in this seat. And I'll let the NCAA figure out what they got going on with the landscape of college football. But in the meantime, it's not going to make me flinch one bit on trying to positively change 120 young men's lives.
Trent, we have about 20 seconds. You have two hashtags. Win is one, which I think we can all translate. What does hashtag fire breathers only mean?
Fire breather is an elite term used by special forces guys personally. Like the elite of the elite, they're very rare. They have a different mindset in everything that they do. And those are the kind of kids and coaches and personnel staffers we're looking for. People that wake up every morning tingly and ready to give their best and chase their best.
We are very appreciative of your time. Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations, a belated Happy New Year. Hopefully down the road when we call, you'd be gracious enough to come back on. We wish you all the best.
Of course. It was a pleasure, guys. Good talking to you.
Trent Dilfer, he's the head football coach at UAB. Imagine him in the room.
We've had three coaches on. I feel like running through a wall every time we're done with them.
We've gone 3 for 3 this, off season so far.
We really have. We really have. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. Sounds like he ran IMG in Tennessee, by the way. So we had a pretty good idea of what he was talking about.
Yep. I love the fact, though, that the wife said, get your butt up and go to the next level. Okay, honey.
Don't know what I'm going to get when I go home, but I don't know if it's going to be that. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Dandy, how is Goa these days? Hang on, I got to go back to David's show rundown of what we're doing here. Hang on. Figure something out. That's this segment. Guys, this segment's figure. He's 7:58. He sent me the rest of the show rundown of what we were doing.
And we have followed it perfectly. But now, 9:21,
figure something out. 9:38, you know the drill.
Just trying to communicate effectively.
Dandy, how long have you been in India? Is this an around the world trip that you're doing right now? I know you've been many places when you've joined our show.
By the way, KW, thanks. Adam, I have a question. Mel Gibson is in a movie? Seriously. I get the whole doing Lethal Weapon 5 and what have you. They're going to put Mel Gibson in the movie? I mean, if so, I'm fine with it. But
who's your father now?
Exactly. Hollywood 20 years ago kind of said, seems as if he hates Jews. We're done with them.
And this just in, there's a few Jews in Hollywood.
So, I mean, if they're putting Mel Gibson back, wow, that would be amazing.
Kevin Spacey going to have a bit part or?
Right.
I'm going to have to watch that Dennis Leary and what's his face thing today. I'm going to have to find it.
Oh, just who's your father now, Mel? Who's your father now?
His punishment's going to face one batter. Who's pitching? Sandy Koufax. I watched the whole Gervais thing again yesterday.
I don't care. I
can't. When he does the joke about the woman licking her own,
right,
and goes furball, she's old school.
Yep.
Oh my God. The fact that he looked up at it and goes, I can't do this joke. And does it anyhow.
And there are some Hollywood heavyweights that are sitting right there in front of him at the prime tables. Hanks was speechless.
The one he says, the party goes, Martin Scorsese said whatever he did about Marvel films, comparing them to theme parks. I don't know what Martin Scorsese's doing in a theme park. He's not tall enough to ride any of the rides.
Right.
I think they were all collectively blanking their pants, going, "Don't come at me."
Right. Please, just leave me out of this, please.
It is the monologue from 3 years ago at the Golden Globes.
Right. It's the last one he did. He somehow got invited back, and he was like, I can't believe they invited me back. It's the last one I'll ever do, and I don't care. So here it goes.
There's been a lack of color in the nominees, but the Hollywood Foreign Press is racist. So it doesn't...
Right. So it doesn't matter. Right.
Oh, 30 seconds.
Golly.
I feel like I'm in a damn icebox.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with our final thoughts and maybe a prediction or two coming up in roughly 20 minutes time. If you've missed any part of the show today, got to admit, you've missed a good one. Pat Kirwan joined us. He joined us an hour earlier than normal. So you would have to go to the 7 o'clock hour and download the first half of it. Landry
Just Google competition committee.
I think I've stopped bleeding from the interview with Pat. It took a while for it all to clot and what have you. I was bleeding right on through the 8 o'clock hour when we were talking with Landry Burdine of TCU Radio. Monday nights, the college football national championship game. TCU's getting 12.5. No tailgating allowed. Unbelievable.
Josh Pate, who's been a guest of the show in the past, who has been lobbying for college football commissioner for the better part of a couple of years, did tweet out that if I'm ever when I'm college football commissioner, we will not have national championships at venues that do not allow tailgating.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I know you got this Fiesta Bowl, and then, that game has served college football well, but just in terms of where it is you're going to put your Super Bowl, if you will, if you're college football going forward. We have marked the 4 or 5 places that the NFL would truly like to be its rotation. If you're college football, you need a place that's convenient, that can hold the event, and that you're allowed to act like you're a college football fan at the event and in that city. And I'm wondering if college football needs to think seriously about, we need to come up with our own Super Bowl 4 or 5 city list and stick to it.
Look, I have no problem with the Fiesta Bowl. I know friends that have been out there for games, college games, and I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about going to the Phoenix area for an event. They do events well.
And the stadium,
I think that could still be on the rotation, if you know what I mean.
Yep. And the stadium's a half hour or so kind of outside of downtown Phoenix. It's convenient to the airport, though. I mean, the airport, you can get there from the parking lot. You can get to the airport in 15 minutes. I mean, that's pretty convenient. I mean,
but they do a good job with events. They come off well. They look good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there have been some epic games there also. So, that kind of ties into the history and tradition of the sport and all that.
But outside of that, I don't know many places I would go to that are in the West. I'd have no problem at Jarrah's place.
So basically west of Dallas.
Phoenix is the only place I'd go.
I'm kind of with you. And I know it's, you're running a sport. Do you really put an X in Los Angeles, this is the number 2 market, and obviously you do have college football that is played in the city. But, you know, I mean, they don't hold the college football national championship in New York. Why? The region doesn't give a damn.
And I don't know if LA gives a damn. They care about USC if they're good.
Right. Right.
And this game's going to do a lousy rating.
You mean TCU Georgia's not going to capture the nation? And they have such a big buildup to it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 16 NFL games. That's it. That's the buildup. That's the other thing. Isn't this the game to have their version of the competition committee meet and go, you know, this is why we need to hold the game on Thursday. All right. We need time to build up the interest in the game.
But you can't sell that to the market that you're giving the game to because people won't go for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you will. The reason it's on Monday is that people can fly in on Friday night. They have all day Saturday, all day Sunday in the city that the game's being held. That's why I'm with you.
So they fly in on Wednesday. You get 2 nights out of them. Okay. You know, hotel rooms midweek. The restaurants will do okay. I mean, yeah, it's not a 3-day weekend. I get it. But, you know, don't you have to put the sport first? I mean, it's not like cities are going to stop bidding on this game because, wait a minute, Thursday? Not interested. Really?
You're not wrong. But I'm just telling you what I think.
In fact, we should all make a mental note of this. At what time on Monday? Now, we may screw it up because we're going to have Chris Landry on the show. We're going to be talking about TCU Georgia for at least a segment. But if by chance you tell us on Tuesday what time on Monday you started thinking about the national championship game.
That's not fair to our audience because we will talk far more of it than any other show.
I know.
Because we're into college football in this show.
Right. I know.
But like Colin Cowherd, who is into college football, he's a college football fan.
Mm-hmm.
He won't do more than a segment on it.
No, he'll bring Joel Klatt on late. He'll do a segment on the game. Because here's the other thing that happens Monday. People are getting fired. It's Black Monday. And let's face it, this is where we're not good people. And I don't mean Miller and Moulton. You guys already know that by now. This is where you all actually join us, where we actually kind of get interested in, ooh, who got fired? And we're almost like excited about it. Ooh, wow. Really?
You know why? I mean, one, it's the realization that your team's moving on. But see, the other one, this is still fantasy land because when most of us get fired, there's not 3 years left on our deal that we're getting a check for.
That is very true.
It's really difficult to feel badly for a guy who's in the 3rd year of an 8-year deal and gets fired and gets paid. Okay?
Or even if he has 1 year left on his deal.
Doesn't matter. He's got 1 year left.
Right. We'd all love a free year, right? 3 years left on his deal. How many of us have ever gotten 3 months severance? In fact, I'll raise my hand and tell you right now, I've never received 3 weeks severance, ever.
I ended up here getting more than they wanted to give me because I kind of had it coming and negotiated with 2 different people. And when they found out what I was getting, there was a lot of screaming that went on in this building.
Yeah, they totally stuck it to me. They owed
well,
me
it's because I got away with some stuff.
Well,
they weren't going to let you get away with what I got away with.
Well, and plus I made headlines in the paper. But yeah, between you and then the headlines, yeah, I got 5.5 hours severance. That is the God's honest truth. All right. The second act we got fired for, we got
we didn't. We got a pay cut. They owe us money. The fact of the matter is that those scumbags owe us money.
Well, that's true because we only got paid for the amount of time that we worked that month.
Right, but they fired us and said we quit. They owe us money. It wasn't enough money for me to sue them, or I would have. Trust me.
So that's the first and second act severance. Maybe that's why
guys I'd like to see in a parking lot to play wiffle ball with. Trent Dilfer. He'd be number 1 on my list.
I think I'd have to hold you back. And you know what? I like my chances against you because I'm a little stockier, okay, and I'm fatter, and I think I'm a little stronger. But you would be so fired up if you saw him in a parking lot. I don't think I could hold you back.
No, I'd fight dirty with you too.
Yeah, exactly. You would kick the tar out of me so you could kick the tar out of him.
That's
exactly.
It's about the way that
Right.
would go. Then I'd be part of the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is coming up shortly on Miller and Moulton.
But so anyway.
Oh, I feel better right now. Thank you for that, David.
Oh, good.
Whew.
No problem. Anytime, a little on-air therapy is always good. Never hurts. Right. So there you heard the first and second act demise. Okay. And who knows where and when and how much the third act demise will be. We're hoping it's at least 10 years down the road. We have one more kid to put through college between the two of us.
It's all we're working on now.
Right.
It's all we're working on.
We're 2 out of 3. Okay. We got one more to go.
Wait a minute. We're Meatloaf?
Well, you know me with Meatloaf.
I do.
Coming up on a year, I think.
Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap, still all ahead right here. Where else? The Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Vets of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Congratulations. It is well deserved. I know your family.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins party every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You all know how much I care about all you guys, and
Hey, Troy, it is Troy Aikman from the Monday Night Football booth here in Indianapolis. And how cool are we to have the name Troy, first of all? Now, I know why your parents named you Troy, so
makes me feel really proud. But what makes me feel even prouder is the fact that the Ducks organization has given me the honor to let you know that for the second consecutive year,
That's cool.
You, my friend, are an
Yeah.
All-Star.
Yep. I saw him tape it.
That's cool. Love it. Know how your parents got the name.
Justine, who works at a law firm in Fort Myers, she goes, "You guys are funny about local coverage." Yeah, we go to the games. We know what to expect. This is new to you.
That won't happen. I assure you that if Democrats join up to elect a moderate Republican, I will resign from the House of Representatives. That is how certain I am. I can assure your viewers that won't happen.
Wow. That's a nice threat.
Who was that?
Matt Gaetz. I follow. It's called Wu-Tang is for the Children. It's a Twitter site that's pretty funny. But they do a little bit of politics, a little bit of pop culture, a little bit of whatever. And he was on, I think, Laura Ingraham last night and said if the moderate Democrats, or if the Democrats try to find a moderate Republican, then I'll resign. It's like, is that a promise?
Well, there you go. Game on, man.
Wow. I did hear that. I saw that yesterday, KW.
But his family released something a few hours ago that said he's doing better.
Yeah, it was an uncle or something like that released something, and that's what I had read as well. So it could go from sad to heroic here, KW.
$15 seconds. Ooh. It's Friday.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Home stretch, Miller and Moulton on this largely Football Friday edition. Thanks so much for being with us. Miss any part of the show, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, Landry Burdine, Trent Dilfer. All on the show today. 1 in the 7, 1 in the 8, 1 in the 9. So there, bada bing, bada boom.
So, David, the owners are going to meet today.
Right.
They're going to Zoom and decide whether or not they push forward what the competition committee suggested, or they can vote no, and then it goes back to what the rules are, which is winning percentage. That's what Pat was adamant about in our interview at 7:00 this morning. Do you think the competition committee's suggestion will get passed through, or that the owners will go back to really what the rules are and that it's winning percentage that matters?
I think if the situation that brought this to head wasn't about a life-threatening injury, I think without question the owners would go, no, we have rules on the books. We're going to follow them. I do think the situation which is causing this unprecedented recommendation from the NFL Competition Committee, I do think will heavily influence things. Mark, I believe strongly. And yes, it may seem cold and it may be unfair. But if the NFL changes their rules during the course of the regular season once as to how the playoffs are going to be, what is to prevent the slippery slope of, well, we got a problem. We need let's sit down and competition committee, make your recommendations, and we'll change it midstream. And I know that may sound outrageous, but I mean, the rules are on the books. We go to the standings. You opted not to play the game, NFL. Now abide by your own rules. That would be my voice in the room.
We will find out later today. I think they're going to go with what the competition committee suggested because I think that's what they do. I don't think they're strong enough to go against it.
Which is, and listen, I don't necessarily disagree with a single utterance that you just had, but it is amazing to me the power of the NFL Competition Committee. They have proposed some of the most asinine things this century. They really have. And these owners go along with it. It's mind-boggling. If their own business people in a business meeting recommended stuff that the competition committee recommended them, they would be like, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that because otherwise I'd have to fire you. But
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Are you serious? I have to stop talking about them now? He's given interviews.
Are you buying the book?
Out. Am I buying the book?
Have you already ordered the book?
No, I have not already ordered the book. I don't know if I'll have to buy the book. Between the interviews that he's giving and so many media outlets printing all the excerpts, I'm not sure I'm going to have to buy the book. Besides, I'm already on their side. What do I need to buy the book for?
All right, I just asked. We haven't had a tell-all book come out of the Royals before, David. I just think.
I know. And he's not even 40 yet.
Right. I mean, this isn't Kansas City or Cincinnati. This is the Royals.
Correct. All right. This is not the Queen's University in Charlotte. What's their nickname?
Bastards
The Royals.
covered by a half a point last night.
Yes, they did.
Bellarmine made a vaunted effort to come back, but fell a point short in the game. We start in 1838 today, where Samuel Morse demonstrate their telegraph machine in New Jersey for the first time. Today in 1942, David, Bob Feller enlists in the Navy and reports for duty.
Think about it. The attacks were December 7th of 41. He didn't wait a month. And he took himself right to the front of the line and said, I'll enlist. And he had already pitched 3 years in the majors.
Today in 1947, Pan American Airlines offers a round-the-world ticket, the first commercial airline to do so. Today in 1958, Gibson Guitars launches the Flying V electric guitar. You've seen a few people play that one. 1968, the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour album goes #1 and would stay there for 8 weeks. In 73, cartoons changed for the better because ABC TV premiered Schoolhouse Rock. 75, Wheel of Fortune debuts on NBC television.
Who was the first host, by the way?
Wasn't Woolery the first host?
I thought so, but I don't know for sure. I just wondered if it was in there. Like
it's
if it
not.
said-
No. Today in 1976, Ted Turner purchases the Braves for $12 million.
12 million.
Yep.
That's unbelievable.
Championship games today in 80. Steelers beat the Oilers 27-13.
That was the game with the controversial Mike Renfro catch, no catch when it was 17-10, late third quarter, back of the end zone. They took forever and ruled that he was out of bounds. Oilers had to kick a field goal, 17-13, and Steelers dominated the fourth quarter.
And the Rams beat the Bucks 9-spit in Tampa.
Vince Ferragamo. Jack Youngblood on the broken leg.
85 championships were today. At the OB, the Dolphins beat the Steelers 45-28. And the Niners shut out the Bears 23-spit.
Steelers, who, of course, passed on Marino. And very quickly, he made him pay.
Bill Wyman announces he was leaving the Rolling Stones today in 1993. Why? Nancy Kerrigan uttered those words in 1994 after she was attacked by Tonya Harding's bodyguard at the U.S. Championships in Detroit. Today in 95, Lenny Wilkens passed Red Auerbach to become the NBA's all-time winningest coach with 939 victories as the Hawks beat Washington at the Omni in Atlanta. I am so happy I got to include that. Barry Switzer resigns as Cowboys coach today in 98. The NHL ended their lockout today in 2013. In 2018, John Gruden returned to the NFL as the coach of the Oakland Raiders. And a year ago, I'm not even going to start. Those born today that are no longer with us. Ban Johnson, he was the founder of the American League. John DeLorean, Sid Barrett, Malcolm Young, and Michael Hauser from Widespread Panic. All would have been celebrating birthdays today. Those that are, Lou Holtz is 86. Nancy Lopez is 66. Friend of the show, Paul Azinger is 63. Howie Long is 62. Director John Singleton is 55. AJ Hawk is 39. And Jameis Winston is 29 years old today. And that, David, is today was the day when.
Yeah, just pain everywhere, just pain. It's the Jameis quote.
One of many. Think he's ever a starter again?
No. Not a number one. I mean, he may start a game again, but no.
Right. But that, he's a backup somewhere and eventually, what have you.
I mean, if you're a backup somewhere, you're going to be a starter, it looks like, in this league.
Why? Just because we have 6 third stringers that are going to play third stringers. Never mind the dozen backups. We have 6 third stringers that are in action here in week 18. Here's my question. Can a third stringer do something so extraordinary in one opportunity that the organization goes, well, I don't think we need a quarterback. I mean, did you see how Skylar Thompson played against the Jets?
I don't know. Trey Lance starts going south. They're going to go back to Brock Purdy next year?
I don't know if they're going to go back to Trey Lance. Kid hasn't lost yet. I mean, if the kid runs the damn table, this is Heath Schuler, Gus Farad all over again. We drafted Heath Schuler 3rd overall, but the 7th rounder outplayed him. We're playing him.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Arcadia for the good, where the Opera House that Hurricane Ian ripped away a good part of the progress that was done on the restoration efforts. They have been doing their work. The place built in 1906 is now close to reopening. So great news there. For the bad, we go to Collier County, where a driver driving down Airport Pulling Road spotted a tiny skunk in front of him. So he avoided it. He stopped his vehicle. The skunk ran under his car and hopped into the car's engine pan under his BMW. He pulled to a parking lot where he tried to get the skunk out. Apparently, after many attempts, they couldn't get the skunk out, even using snake tongs trying to get the skunk out. The driver drove home, parked his house next to some bushes, and hoping the baby skunk would make his way out of the car. Good news for him, it didn't spray. Probably would have been an ugly if it sprayed.
Yes.
For the ugly, we stay in Naples and go to Fifth Avenue, where a drunk man was thrown out of a restaurant and on his way out began yelling at a family who was saying their goodbyes on the sidewalk, and then he doused their baby with a beer. The 5-month-old was doused in beer in front of the restaurant. Management quickly stepped in from the restaurant, took a picture of the man. He paid cash, so there was no way of getting his name, and now they're trying to identify the beer-throwing jerk who doused the kid. Anyone who has any information on this is encouraged to call the Naples Police Department's non-emergency number. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, January the 6th, 2023.
11 NBA games tonight, including the Heat, the second game of the ESPN doubleheader, 10 o'clock. They're in Phoenix. Felipe, Heat on a Friday night at 10 o'clock or date night with the young lady? Who wins?
Young lady's got work late tonight. She works at a restaurant. So I might watch the game at her restaurant. How about that?
Front end of the double dip at 7:30 is Brooklyn at New Orleans. It's a shame Zion's hurt again, but that should be entertaining. 6 games in the NHL, Mark, including both Florida teams in action. Lightning in Winnipeg, Panthers in Detroit.
It's a game the Panthers have to win. These are the day. I mean, they are teetering right now. They've got to beat teams that they are supposedly better than.
Well, they definitely have to win those games. I mean, at the very least in the second half of the season, they have to win all the games that they're at or ahead of in the standings. And they're technically, I think, even behind Detroit.
But they are considered a better team.
Exactly. Right. All right. Here's my Friday night special in college hoops, because the Ivy League and Maction, that's who plays on Fridays in college hoops. All right. Cornell's only a 4-point favorite at home against Penn. Cornell, if you remember, about a month ago, went to Miami and played that 107-105 game against the Canes. The Canes are a legit top 15, 20 team in the country. Okay. Cornell can play a little bit. All right. Cornell only laying 4 at home against Penn.
I've got it at 3.5.
Okay. Well, you know, Penn's playing a little better of late, but I'm just saying.
No.
I'm heavily biased. The Ivy League teams at home, although the night to really bet them is Saturday. The second game in 24 hours. You play the home teams every damn time. But so that's my Ivy League special tonight, baby. In Ithaca, Cornell laying the 4 against Penn.
The bowls may be over, but David's gambling is just beginning, because now he can bet multiple games every night all the way through the first round of the tournament.
Got a problem with that?
Not one. Not one bit.
Jersey's still number 1 in gambling revenue, Mark, but New York is closing fast on the outside, number 2. Ohio, their first week of action, they're going gangbusters.
Missouri's talking about getting on the board. Georgia's talking about getting on the board, and yet in Florida, we still have to wait. Come on, guys, get your act together.
Yeah. Certain people's careers depend on it. Come on. You know what we need? A DraftKings ad, and then a BetMGM ad.
Followed by a FanDuel ad.
Right.
Then the Hard Rock can throw one in at some point there, too.
And then going to break, Mark can have a live read, and coming out of break, I can have a live read. Okay? That's how it works. Get with the program. Careers are depending on it.
I really want to be doing a show Monday morning with the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs, David.
And we will. And we will. In fact, they will end up with the best record of the 3 NFL teams in the state.
And I say all 3 Florida teams make the playoffs. I'm taking the Dolphins. David is not.
Think about that. Me bailing on the Fins.
And Tennessee.
Yeah, well, Tannehill's not playing. I mean, if Tannehill was playing, I'd be all over, my man crush there. Lauren and I, we've got a thing for Ryan Tannehill. Although I'll say this, Mark, if the Dolphins were to go back and wear their 72 uniforms, I would change my pick.
Ladies and gentlemen,